Hiya. Sorry, my hair's a mess.
Ah,
I'm not going to talk about my hair.
oh, don't start.
I'm not. I have been down the beach and it's been wet. So, anyway, hi. How are you?
Hello.
I got
Very
you
well, thank you very
better?
much. I will. Ooh. Now, it's sort of one of those things, isn't it? It's like it's a bookcase. I got a friend who has like a line of guitars on his sofa in the background. Like, oh, these old things.
Yeah. I do play the ukulele, but so it is a good place for me to decide. I've decided I'm just going to put it there. So I thought
Do
I
you
was a
play
bit
it
more.
when the baby's crying next door?
Yeah, play it louder then. No, to anyone's got a baby, no, I would never do that to you guys.
I would.
I've not had babies, but they are hard work. My sister had a baby when I was 11. I thought it was really selfish of her. They're very hard work. I'm tired today. I'm always tired on a Sunday. Hey, Poodle Hat.
Hey. There you go. I was on the wrong page. Let me bring these up. Woo. Yes, I'd like to say hello to
Easy day.
our podcast listeners as well. So few fitted in 2 episodes of Tales of Wales podcast lunch and my walk. I made it back in time for this. Love the idea that we made him sort of go into that fast walk sprint.
Because doing this makes you walk faster.
It's how Tom Cruise just gets booked, isn't it? Because he's just got that run. But I've started becoming quite fascinated with our kitchen sink podcast, available on all podcast formats.
Yeah.
So hello to our new listeners in Nigeria.
Oh, I don't know how do you say hello to Nigerians?
All right, Nigerians.
Shemai, that's Welsh.
Shemai.
Shadam Camrag, do you speak any Welsh? That would be a no.
The Americas and Canada and the United Kingdom, that makes sense. And you said you've got family in Australia. That could be who that is. But Nigeria was a curveball.
Yeah. Well, with the Rough As podcast, just clank that in there. Clang. Does have a lot of listeners from all over the world, and I'm like, why are they listening from there?
Wow.
Like Mexico City, New York City. I'm like, ooh. Was it wherever Adam Buxton's from? I can never remember. It begins with an N. Nottingham.
Norfolk.
It's not Nottingham. It's not. Might be Norfolk. Anyway, I'm always very much like, maybe Adam Buxton's listened to this podcast, but it's more likely just someone from the same town has gone, give us a listen.
I don't think I can on this software. I don't think I can go closer than just.
No, I think if you see more stuff on the website, if you click on it, you can see what towns.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll enjoy that after this.
Yeah, I can see what towns on my app because I know it says Wales, and I click on Wales, and it's mainly Swansea and Cardiff. But we do have a little bit. I think maybe one person in North Wales.
Really?
Some people in the West. Hello, Aurelians. Yeah, it's cool. But I just think I also know that a lot of people will listen to podcasts if they want to learn how to speak English.
Yeah, so they thought we'll pick two Welsh girls.
Yarp. I wonder if the kitchen sink is a term, though. Is it a term? Does anybody know? Because on YouTube, one of the world's top YouTubers, his initials are TKS. Would that have anything to do with it?
Nah.
Nah.
Come on, they know that TKS is not
the kitchen sink. No, I think it is short for kitchen sink. You Googling it?
No. Yes.
Maybe.
No.
Do you ever drive and you think, I've got to change the song, but I'm not allowed to look at my phone? So you're driving like that.
Oh.
Especially see a police car. I'm like, both hands are on the wheel. I'm not doing anything wrong. What will we be up to this weekend then, Lucy?
My friend came down to see me on the
Ah,
Friday.
well, that's nice. I thought I hadn't heard from you much.
So
Normally it's like text.
so he came down to see me, and then on the Saturday I went and had my headshots done.
Who with?
So my friend's daughter, she's 18. She wants to build her portfolio up,
Lovely.
and was as excited as me to have someone to take photos of as I am to have someone take photos of me.
Yes.
That was, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes away, so it was quite a long journey there.
Oh, yeah.
And then just as we were leaving, the whole town was taken over by armed police because there was a stabber on the run, and we managed to get out just before like the town was shut down.
Which town were you in?
Totnes, which is like Glastonbury but more hippie-ish.
Oh, bless them. Who's going to stab
Like,
the Totnessians?
honestly,
Oh.
it makes more sense that somebody was sort of had a crystal thrown at them.
Yes. Have that and some positive vibes. That's what it normally is, isn't it? Anyone who's
Accosted by a stick of nag champer.
Let me provide you with love, with all my justice.
Yeah, my mother genuinely said, I just don't understand. Totnes.
Yeah.
And there was a air ambulance, a police ambulance, there were armed police, everything.
The stabbers were out yesterday. People with knives were out yesterday. Did you see on the news that Thorpe Park?
No.
A man has been arrested for attempted murder for slashing someone on the exit to Thorpe Park. Like, come on, it's nothing safe anymore. We can't do bugger all. Oh, maybe they were right.
Ray, hello, Ray. Good morning. I think the way this is now. Maybe they were stabbed with a large quartz rod. No, I don't know, Rod.
Is that a double entendre? We're on shaky ground now.
So I found my favorite jacket that I wanted to have my picture taken in. So the night before, I left it on the sofa so that there was no way, shape, or form I could forget this jacket. You got any idea what I'm about to say?
Yeah.
My mother saw the jacket.
You have a number of feline friends, so I'm guessing.
No. This one's worse. 2 legs. And my mother saw that jacket and thought, well, the cat's going to sit on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that away.
Right.
And then when I got back to the house after the photo shoot, I was like, I didn't take my favorite coat. It was there. Oh, yeah, I put that away. I mean, I love the fact that, you know how I say I watch this program with my mum later on. So I'm sat on the sofa here. She'll be sat on the sofa there. And I want to say this, Mum, stop doing that.
Yeah.
When you're cooking and you get the instructions on the back of whatever you're making, and you put it in the bowl and you make it, and you just put it there, turn like that. Where's it gone? Mum's like, oh, I put that in the bin. All right. Oh, you were using it, were you? You knew exactly what you needed for making this, because I'm the one cooking. Where is it? And she just goes,
yeah.
I thought you were finished with it. She's awful. She's worse than a child taking things and playing with it. She just cleans up and puts everything away.
Living with your family. It's a tricky old time. Yeah. Pain in the arse.
And I'd like to tell you off because
no. Yeah. I refuse. No, I'm not listening.
Tiffany Haddish, she's ready, is next week's homework.
She's ready. Oh, it's so good though.
And I met you.
We said we were putting it to one side. We did not agree on next week's homework yet, lady. So I tell you
it's on the list of things we're getting to. Next thing I get is a beep, 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 beep. I was like, what's this? Oh, you've got to watch it. It's so good. And I said, but we're not there yet. She went, don't care.
Don't care. Well, tell me off no more, because last night I watched 2 episodes of Mary Tyler Moore, and when I was having my lunch, because I'd already watched Hannah Gadsby's Douglas, and then I thought, I'll just watch half an hour of this while I'm having my lunch. And then I ended up watching the whole thing because it's brilliant. Yes, but more of that later. So
Well,
yeah.
the brilliant thing about Netflix specials, this is not worth reviewing them, is they're an hour 10.
Yes. Perfect.
Very
It's not too,
manageable.
yeah. Like Friday night. What was it Friday night? No, one night. What was like Saturday night? Watched The Old Guard on Netflix last
Oh,
night.
I want to watch that. Is that a Highlander?
So good. No,
Is it a Highlander?
no. As far as I'm aware, it's nothing to do with Highlander, but I could be wrong because it's comic book world. It is based, I think it's based on a graphic novel. I haven't researched. So if you're getting your graphic novel information from me, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Right.
It's
Okay.
But I quickly saw towards the end. Hi, Jamie. I quickly
Hiya!
saw. And it says based on a graphic novel. So, but it is good. I fully recommend it. At the
If
beginning,
we're
I gotta
doing that,
say,
then I have to recommend Warrior Nun. It's the new
is
Buffy.
it? I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a note of it. Warrior Nun, because I looked at that. I thought, really? Okay.
Episode 1 is brilliant. Episode 2,
Oh, it's a
episode
series,
3, getting stronger. By then, away. But as
right?
long as you ignore the fact that they're quite proud of the Crusades, which was not our shining moment in history.
Certainly not for the Christians.
No,
Really,
no.
they like to
So,
think it is, but
it wasn't right to do Crusade number 1, let alone number 2. And by the time we got to number 3, we should have stopped that.
Be like your Godfather.
But
Oh God.
really pleased with it. But I wasn't feeling down, but I didn't want comedy because I knew I wasn't in the mood to receive comedy. I just wanted something. I didn't even want to put on Brooklyn 99 or Rhoda or just, those 20-minute. I just wanted to sit there, just watch. And I was like, hey, this is brilliant.
Warrior nun. She's a nun on the loose and she's a warrior. Cool. I will try that then. How long are the episodes?
40.
40? That's not bad. I hate a 1 hour. 1 hour is just a little bit too long.
Not hours. They're not hours. She says, just bringing it up quickly.
I won't tell you off if it is an hour because I'm not like that, Lucy. I wouldn't tell you off. Just shut your face. I probably would.
But the other thing I wanted to say is after coming back, so I had the photo shoot done, not with the jacket I wanted, but I saw a couple of the photos she showed me there and then, and I didn't have to do this one. I didn't do this one. And I didn't do this one.
That's my original photos are all this. I hate my original.
Some of them came out really well. Even if it's only 1 or 2, I am overwhelmed that this young girl who has got all the fancy equipment, just because she was 18 and brand new did not mean she did not have the stuff to use. Yeah. She was so good, and even there and then, seeing through the pictures, some of them didn't make me want to scratch my own eyes out, because that's how I usually feel about me trying to do a picture.
One of my favourite headshots was a woman, I don't know her name or anything, I can't remember her name. It didn't make me want to see a show, although I was like, oh, I'll have to watch out for that. It's literally a photo of her in a garden with a massive cat. I was like, oh, I like that headshot. At a time when everything was microphone. Then she's like, look at my cat. And not in a funny way. And literally someone's in the garden. She's just gone, oh, I like that photo. I'm in the garden with my cat.
I did take a microphone with me. I did take a microphone with me and did the first round. I just needed to get it out of my system.
Yeah.
And then I was like, right, if any of these work well, there you go. I've got my token.
Just a job. Everyone, at the end of the day, is your face in the photo, because that's what they want. They just want a representation of who you are. Did you take a model truck? That would have been good.
Fuck!
Did you take a child's truck that you could then drive? That could be your first Edinburgh if we ever do Edinburgh ever again. Why didn't I think of that before?
Could have taken my nice jacket and the truck. Well, at least I know what I'm doing next time.
What's your nice jacket look like? Is it sparkly or is it just a black blazer? What's it
navy like? With like a biker neckline, gold brocade, military buttons.
Ooh, I think it was the universe telling you not to have that jacket in a photo.
Too good. Too good. I
Too
found it
good.
in a little shop in Belgium, and it was reduced from €70 to like 25.
Ooh,
And I
nice.
remember this woman. I saw it like that. I saw it like, you know, you see it when you pray across the room, like across the Serengeti.
Yeah.
And some bin picked it up, right, and started looking at it. So I started following her around the store, and she
Wow.
put it down.
I bet
Don't
she
do
did.
that.
I can't imagine you stalking me around a store when I've got something you want. Flipping heck. Yeah, show us the jacket. Show us the
Hang on.
jacket. Show us the jacket. To be fair, right? Lucy did paint a fantastic mind picture.
I don't actually know where my jacket is due to the fact that I wasn't the one who put it away.
Probably in your mother's wardrobe. Oh, I'm just putting it away, ready for when I want to wear it.
Right, where is my messages? I'm going to text my mum and say, bring the jacket. Bring my... And the thing is, she'll text me back tomorrow.
Well,
Did you need it now?
Yeah. you put up Jamie's post, so I'll read it for the podcast. One of the best moments in comedy was the show that didn't exist. Smiley face. I'm guessing that's a smiley face from a robot. Iggy was giving us a chance. That's Ignacio Lopez was giving us a chance to practice our sets at the Perch. Then went to grab a sandwich, and me and the others couldn't resist. So we did all those finger on the chin shots and the mic shots. Oh.
Well,
it's a milestone.
I put let me see. And the Facebook post looked amazing. It looks like a cracking gig, and no one actually said anything.
Yeah.
Right. The brilliant thing was, like, I put a shout out, didn't I, on that female plus comedian comedy group. Show me your headshots, and they all came in. Bang, bang, bang. Oh, finger on chin, scratch head, confused.
What's the favorite? What has been your favorite headshot that you've ever seen?
I mean, like the one that Jenny Collier had the other day. She's just wearing a grey jumper with a white background, and she's just like, "Hey, our guest coming up today, Drew Taylor, has got a lovely headshot with the Welsh flag draped over his shoulders with a little cuff."
Yes.
Somebody told me to look up Jess Fortescue.
Yeah, Jessica Fortescue. Yes,
Jessica Fortescue, and she has got some really nice headshots that aren't just cheeky. Shrug.
She pulls it off. Also, if you've seen the show, if you've seen the posters for Hench, her show Hench is brilliant. And also Beck Hill, all of her shows are worth watching out for because they're like pieces of art. Because Beck Hill she is an artist. Her show, but that's not the same as a headshot, is it? Really, it's a show poster. But yeah, my favorite headshot is Leroy Brito's. When he posted that, I couldn't help but take the mick. I don't know if he was impressed or not, but I was like, he's leaning forward and he's got like IKEA cabinets behind him, like cubes behind him, and he's got the microphone draped between his legs, but he sat down. It's just like he's going, "Here, yeah, I've just resting with my microphone dangling." And I was like, it just looked like he'd literally just done a bit of IKEA. It's like, how long did it take you to put those shelves up, Leroy?
I construct my joke with an Allen key.
Hey! But it's like, it's easy to take the piss now of everyone. But at least we're out here doing it.
I like your 1950s biker
sexy.
I like your biker sexy jacket thing.
Yeah, I think it's because that is now 10 years old. And I'm concerned that if somebody uses that as the headshot and then I rock up and they're like, "Ooh, she's changed."
Well, you can use that on your Tinder now as long as it's 10 years old. Isn't that what people do now? They use very old.
I don't know. Are you
terrible for it? The picture he's got on his Facebook, that is my brother, and I remember him.
Everybody look like that. Are you on the Tinders and stuff? Do you do them?
I have never, ever, 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 ever done electronic dating. I find my drug addicts and narcissists in real life.
Good for you. Yeah, I know we talked about this before, haven't we? It's like,
I haven't got the patience because, I mean, it'd
it's
be sort of
horrendous.
1 or 2, 3, 4 messages, and then I'd be like, just fuck it, let's meet. And then I'm sort of next minute, I'm stabbed in a wheelie bin. You know the thing?
Yeah, look at the bright side. I could be stabbed in a wheelie bin. I've had too many.
I've met people at truck stops. I've met people on loading bays.
Well, it just goes to show that, you know, we should have more faith in humanity, isn't it? The fact that you're still alive. You're a trucker.
Yeah, exactly.
You slept in many a lay-by on your own in a cab.
Many.
And you know, you've looked after yourself. You've done it abroad and everything. And you're
I've gone
still
to an
alive.
abroad truck stop, gone out drinking, got absolutely annihilatedly drunk with a bunch of expats, other truck drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Still here, lovely. Still here.
Yeah. So it's not the narrative of every single serial killer novel that a gorgeous blonde woman such as yourself deigns to take one dainty step out the door and that's it, murdered. You know.
Exactly. And also, if they didn't do it right, if they weren't being a proper serial killer, I was like, well, that's not how the Golden State Killer does it. Well, that's not how BTK does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, remember the days when you would just go to Astoria, meet somebody, get a number on the back of a fag packet, have to ring their landline. You'd meet them in Cardiff by the phone box outside Forbidden Planet. The normal way of doing it.
Just normal.
Normal.
Well, in Wales, in Swansea, what we used to do from the age of 16 on, and 15 to 18. Once you were 18, you were too old for this nightclub. We used to go down Cinderella's and basically
love that.
Cinderella's nightclub down the end, you know, the end of the pier, and basically, you know, see how many boys you could snog by midnight.
Yep.
Pound a pint, a special bat. Happy days.
Oh, I found my old pound a pint Astoria flyers in the back of a box the other day, and it's just you know.
Where's the store? Where was the Astoria?
Astoria, Westgate. Drew will probably tell us this. You know, from when you got the bandstand to the Aneurin Bevan statue
in Cardiff.
That's Westgate. Yeah, in Cardiff. Yeah. So from Habitat to Aneurin Bevan, that row,
right?
Pretty much just across from Marks and Spencers, and there was just a door, and you knew it was classy because the stools were hands.
Oh, so you could pretend you're having a cheeky little feel on the old buttocks.
You felt quite like a Grecian goddess.
Now, would you dress up? Or would it just be jeans in proper dress up?
Well, no, don't forget I was 15, so I had to dress up.
Yeah, but in Swansea, if you dressed up, you were a townie, so you went to town, and there were loads that you had Martha's Vineyard, Ritzy's. There were loads of nightclubs you go to in town.
I was just going to say, wasn't I
Ritzy's? So I went to Mumbles. And also you could just wear jeans. I used to go to the army because I've always been a big girl, which is a size 16. I've always been an average sized woman. So when I was Army Navy.
Yeah, when I was 15, when I was 15, 16, I was a size 16.
Right. So we would have been about the same size. But yeah, you couldn't get clothes. Snob, the clothes shop, and Chelsea Girl, they only ever went up to a size 14. Miss Selfridge, like a size 12, just couldn't get clothes. So I was lucky I could get into
one of the best things ever about being, I got stalked and I became an agoraphobe and I lost a load of weight. Went into Morgan, bought a pair of size 10 off the fucking shelf. Cheers. Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I've been a size 14 once for about 10 minutes. I've always been about size 16. So luckily in the last 10 years, I say 20 years, they actually decided to make clothes to fit women. But I always used to have to shop in like Wallace, which when you're 18, that's Evans. You know, they're old women shops, really. I used to buy Marks and Spencers, men's shorts and jumpers to wear in the summer. It's crazy, I couldn't get sandals, just couldn't get anything to fit. So it's crazy. But now, luckily, they do actually make clothes to fit women, which is good. Plus size, that's handy. But also they have vanity sizes. So, what today's size 16 would not have been a size 16 back in the day. Back in the day, what we wear today is a 16 would have been at least a 20, maybe a 22 back in the day.
Yeah.
Because they changed
Absolutely.
the sizes, proper sizes on stuff for women's stuff. They can't get away with it, men. Because like the men,
like crying in the changing room because you refuse to go up another size.
yeah, or crying in the changing room because it was a communal changing room, like we're in the friggin' leisure centre, or like half a dozen young girls all trying to bloody get jeans on, whilst but not touching someone else's bum. Basically, it was horrendous. Trying not to fall over and jumping into people, and they're all silly bitches.
I think this is a perfect time to bring Drew in.
Yes, and on that happy note.
He can tell us if he's ever cried in a changing room. Yes. He can tell us how many people he snogged in Ritzies.
Well, Drew's a little bit younger than us, though. Actually, I don't know how.
That's what I want to know. I want to know the age, because although I act childish, I am very old.
Not as old as me, love. But
no, I'll never be as old as you. But
I win. I win on that competition.
Right. So, Izzy Wizzy, let's get busy. Rub your hands together and we'll bring Drew.
Let's get busy with Drew Taylor. I'm not sure that's the message we want to give. Hey,
hello, you right?
Hi, Drew. Sorry.
Hello. I thought I'd come backstage nice and early to get a feel for the vibe of the show. And yeah, it's been nice. Talking about not being again the jeans you wanted to buy and stuff. I felt quite welcome. But I think they have changed men's clothing sizes in recent years. Yeah. Like I used to wear an extra large, and then now that's become like a large, and I don't wear size 12 shoes anymore. I wear like size 11s now. So unless my feet have gone smaller, or I cut my toenails more regularly now, possibly. I don't know.
The 1 inch over the actual flesh is a bit long, isn't it? You want to cut that down.
Yeah,
that down a little bit.
Yeah. You don't want to click as you walk. That's sort of that's the
like a Jack Russell across the linoleum. Ooh, time for a trimming.
You can tell.
I did a comedy set recently about women not in magazines body shaming them, and I had a male comedian come up to me and go, "You need to add in that men are body shamed in papers nowadays, because it's really equal ops now. We're not the only ones attacked."
So how
we've been shaming men for the last, I'd say, 10 years. Women have had it since the 60s, so suck on that.
So how are men body shamed? Hello, Ray. How are you, mate? I'm assuming that. What was his examples of men being body shamed?
So, with magazines, say I'm walking down the street, I'm either underdressed, and therefore I'm probably going through a difficult breakeup. I'm overdressed, and I'm
like the Heat magazines and stuff.
Yeah, and then also with men, if you have a day where you're wearing casual clothes and you've just had a big couple of pints and a meal, they'll be like, "Oh, he's got a dad bod." Yeah. And then it doesn't matter whatever you are, they'll make it that you're not something else.
Yeah. Because in the media, I find there's only two types of bloke. There's like the men's health sort of cover model bloke, who the aspirational sort of bloke, and then there's the badly cast bloke who's much older and much less attractive than his wife in the sort of in the advert or the series or whatever it might be. And I don't get that. It frustrates me. You'll see a very attractive 25-year-old woman with a middle-aged sort of odd-looking bloke, and I think, what's the logic?
King of queens.
Yeah. That sort of approach, And they're the only two blokes who exist. Sort of athletic, elite, sort of people you want to breed with, and then your average Joe, and that seems to be all there is, So.
Yeah, I suppose there is the rise in men's health magazine, or men's fitness magazine, where it's like the blokes on the front of there, it's unrealistic. They haven't got a 6-pack, they've got like a 12-pack, and they've had shading done to make that, and they've gone through an extreme diet. They've dehydrated for a week to look that thin. They've pumped iron and everything. But I do think, like, my friend's got a son who's nearly 17, and they're going to see that and go, oh, is that what I'm meant to look like? And you see, like, Zac Efron was on Twitter this week, in the last couple of days, because he's dared to to start eating carbs again. So he looks fairly normal, and they've called that a frigging dad bod. Now, I've watched the programme they're talking about, and he just looks like a normal guy. He's still cute and twinkly and everything, but he's not, trained for a role in a movie where he's expected to look handsome or look amazing. But so, yeah, I do think it's an issue for men as well as women, but I think it's been an issue for women for a lot longer. So I don't think Lucy should be changing her flipping stand-up to reflect, and men too, because I think that's going to make it a lot less funny. Also, there's always a way. There's a bloke to tell you what to say and do, isn't there?
Well, it's nice to be. I think it's important to be inclusive with issues and topics and stuff. But I didn't. You had to, for better, you had to explain to me what it meant by the men being sort of body shamed. And if you do material about that, I'm thinking, what you mean? It's gonna go flat,
I added the twist that as men run the magazines and you're body shaming yourselves, it's technically the snake eating its own tail. And if you could do that, you wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah. And actually, it's just marketing. If we all feel shit about ourselves, we'll buy more stuff to make us feel better. Whether it's food or products or clothes or going to the gym, it's all stuff. It's all things to spend money. And, that's why they do it. So don't buy the magazines, isn't it? Don't buy. Sorry, anyway.
Sort of linked to it. We recently watched. I know it, but I know it's like, oh, we got a man on. We can ask him these questions. We don't often have to.
You're a man, like, innit?
Speaking on behalf of your people,
right.
So Tiffany Haddish just did Black Mitzvah, and she made a comment about her friend saying she should lose weight, and she said, "I didn't become a fucking comedian to go to the gym." Do you feel, because you are on stage and you are, technically we're in the business of show, do you feel that being a comedian, you can do what you want and just go on there and make sure you tell jokes? Or do you feel an increased maybe social media, or maybe more people have got camera phones to keep yourself fit and trim? And
I think there is a pressure and there is a feeling to look your best, but I think that comes from myself more than audience or any external influences on me. I don't get recommended by anyone. Or maybe you should lose a bit of weight. Or you'd be funnier if you wore a tighter t-shirt or something like that. But I think that's the luxury of perhaps being a man, is that that pressure is off. But I do put pressure on myself to do that, because I feel that I want to look my best. Because if you feel good, then perhaps the confidence will come out to you. And comedy is a lot to do with confidence. It's about selling a joke, and somebody could tell a fantastic bit of material quite poorly and undersell it, and it won't work. And somebody with confidence and stage presence can sell a bit of material that's okay, but it comes across really funny because of the way they delivered it. But I think it's a preservation, sort of self-awareness thing. I do try and sort of look my best and wear a nice shirt on stage, or sort of look smart. Because one, you want to look professional, but two, you see photos of yourself there and you think, oh, I had a good Christmas, and I just think it's a personal preservation thing.
July.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which Christmas is the sort of is the question, but
Christmas 5 years ago.
Yeah. But there is that pressure, because you're also, you're on stage by yourself, and apart from your voice, it's just everything else, just a visual thing you can offer. So I think it's important. I don't feel, not to be sort of sexy or attractive. It's not about that. It's about being funny. But I think feeling confident and feeling good is important, definitely.
Yeah. And what I struggle with, but I've got to go away and have a good word with myself, or get Lucy to tell me off about this. And look, she loves telling me off, right? Is when I started out, I suppose it depends on what do you want as a comedian, because you end up, people chat, and all the other comedians chat, they're all talking shit, but it's very much like, real comedians, it's all just about the jokes, and if you can make them laugh without all the performance and the jokes and what you wear and that, and I'm like, oh right, okay, so does that mean I'm not as good a comedian if I wear a sparkly jacket? Which is it's just bullshit, isn't it? I mean, this performance, I deliver training. I'm a trainer in my day job. I wouldn't, like in real life before lockdown, I wouldn't go to work without wearing my work clothes and looking smart for work. And as a trainer, it's quite good to wear what I find is something like a big sparkly necklace or an unusual dress, because you're having to keep people's attention all day when it's stuff like this is Excel training, or so you've got to give them a little something, haven't you? And it's this same with, it's even more so if you're performing as a comedian.
I think so, and when it comes to the comedy, you define comedians typically like character acts or sort of straight stand-up or musical act. But really, with all character acts, because you're playing a sort of character or persona or a version of yourself, and quite often a look will come with that. And even if it's not for the audience's benefit, for your benefit, once that stage shirt comes on, or once that jacket comes on, or those trainers you only wear on stage, you're in the right mindset then, and that's important as well, because believe it or not, a lot of comedians work outside of comedy as well, and it's the difference between being Drew Taylor on stage or the other aspects of your life you might do, and you've got to flip that switch sometimes. And you might have been, sometimes you've got a day off before a gig, but you might have been doing 100 other things before the gig, and then you've got to get into sort of showbiz mode, and that helps because you're in character then. It's like the sort of the ripping open the shirt to reveal the sort of the Superman S or whatever, or something less high end maybe.
No, it's right. It's getting into the mode, isn't it?
Yeah. I think if people are coming out, before, do you remember before? So if people, when people used to come out, they'd book a babysitter. Have they got public transport? Did they get a taxi, or is somebody going to be Des? Have they got all the parking space and And I think they've done all that to come and see me perform, even though I'm maybe not the longest time on the bill, but still I'm part of the entire act of the names on the bill. Bring it. Bring some fucking showbiz and some glitter and some like, da-da! I dress like a 70s barmaid, and I'm fine with that.
I start calling you Betty Lynch.
Yeah, I want that cat suit. I want that sequins. When I started doing comedy, I bought some mascara and everything.
Bloody hell.
Because as a truck driver, you don't get to wear sequins.
Or mascara.
Or mascara, yeah.
Or mascara, because you've got to take it off, and I haven't got any washing facilities. Hey!
Yeah.
I sometimes sort of romanticize like sleeping in a cabin in the cab above the truck, because I quite like sort of cushy enclosed spaces, like sleeping bags and that sort of thing. Is it as am I completely overblown in romanticizing it? Is it much worse than what it seems?
For me personally, I really love my own space. And like when you pull up somewhere at the end of the night, it could be in a truck park full of other trucks. You could be with 5 other colleagues, 1 other colleague. But ultimately, the minute you shut those doors, bam, and they're big, huge, like security, like bolts that you can put across the doors, no one's getting you. It's your space.
Yeah.
You can put loud music on and dance, and the cab's doing this as me dancing to RuPaul, or I can just sit there and just watch 3 movies back to back, or I can go to sleep, or I can ring friends and have video chat. Nobody can tell you what to do when you're in that space, and it becomes like a little metal tent, like you are going away camping, doing whatever you want. And it could be that you want an early night. They've all gone into the wherever you're staying, and they're all entertaining and socializing, and you're like, I'm going to stay in bed and I'm going to watch 17 episodes of Brooklyn 99 back to back. Be a boring fucker if I want to be. Or you can go out and it's just, it's the freedom. And really, the company will tell you what to do and where to go. But once you stop, that's you. And it is like a camping holiday, just without running water.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Drew, going back to the comedy, is like one thing I really noticed about yourself is you progressed really quickly. You know, you never really did the open mic scene. So,
go on.
What would you say to that? Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think I don't know if this is the right way to approach comedy, but this is just the way I viewed it. Like, I didn't. I didn't ever see it as like a hobby. I always saw it as sort of an extra job or a part-time job or a full-time job. And with that comes sort of the professional aspect, because I don't believe in the concept that there's such a thing as a semi-professional comedian. That's absolute rubbish. And I think people use that phrase to try and downgrade people who perhaps choose to work as well. And I think that's unfair, because there can be a semi-professional comedy night in the sense of half the people are getting paid, or the MC and the closer is getting paid, but the opening acts and the middle acts are not. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But nobody on that bill is semi-professional comedian, because you have to turn up on time. You have to be just as funny as a professional comedian, or you won't get booked again. You have to entertain the audience just the same. And the audience don't know who's getting paid and who doesn't. And, you know, I sometimes think, I wonder how the audience would feel now if they knew those two were not getting paid a penny for being here, and it's cost them £40 in travel to be here, you know. But it is just the structure of comedy and the nature of, you know, the comedy industry. And you know, nobody starts playing football for Cardiff City the first time they step on a football pitch. They got to play for years and years and years to get to that level. You know, it's just with football, it starts at maybe 6 years old, whereas comedy, not many 6-year-old comedians out there. But yeah, it was always just a sort of, I saw it as like a linear path of, I want to start here and I want to get to there. I think it's helpful that you start off with 5 minutes, and then there is a bit of the next signpost down the road is the 10 minutes. And then the next signpost down the road is the 10 minutes on a pro bill. And you can sort of see that tangible sort of progression. And that's quite motivating as well. But yeah, I think I just never saw it as a hobby. And I don't know if there's the aspect of, if you think of it as a hobby, it'll be a hobby. If you think of it as a job, it'll become a job. And that's not to take away from anyone who treats it like a hobby and enjoys that. It's a hundred, you know, there's a million different ways you can do comedy, and it's a very personal thing. But I always saw it as a job and tried to make it so from as early as possible, really.
Yeah. So how did you? Sorry. So how did you approach your material, or did you go to a lot of comedy beforehand, go to clubs beforehand and go, right, I want to write that kind of material that I know would work in a comedy club, or did you just write what you thought was funny?
It went through a couple of sort of phases. Like, first of all, it was writing like, oh, I think people might laugh at this. And then that was okay, but I felt quite disingenuous, like as if I'm saying things that I'm hoping somebody else will like. Whereas I thought, well, if I say things that I think are funny, then maybe it'll come across as more genuine. And again, it's that sort of selling yourself on stage and selling the joke and selling what you're saying. Because, like, it's not quite off point, but I hate it when people say, oh, and this really is true. No, it's all true.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, don't say that, because you're undermining your previous things. But I always try and write about myself within reason, because one, I understand myself better than, you know, I don't try to pretend I'm saying I'm not, but also it reduces the chance of somebody saying, oh, someone else has done a joke like that. It's like, well, they probably couldn't have, because it's about me, you know. Like one-liners, they're great, they're a great place, but typically the one-liner, if you think of a one-liner, chances are Tim Vine has done it, or Tommy Cooper has done it 40, 50 years ago, you know. So yeah, I write about myself. And then another big thing was, because you're writing about yourself, there's a lot of Welsh identity and a lot of Welshness in my comedy. But I didn't ever want to be on stage in England or Scotland or anywhere else, so people think, what's he talking about? I wanted to still be relatable at all times. So I started gigging in England as much and as often as I could, as quick as I could, really. And that taught me quickly what works, what doesn't, what travels, what term travels, is, you know, a joke can work in two different sort of locations. And that was really beneficial, being away from Welsh audiences. As much as lovely and as great as Welsh audiences are, performing for English audiences taught me a lot about my writing and what works and what doesn't, you know.
Yeah. Talking about that signpost, like, oh, this is actually true, makes me think of, there's lots of tics, aren't there? There's lots of things that all comedians will say. It's not a hack thing necessarily, because the hack is just a joke that's a bit like being done to death. But it's just something that we all do, and they go in phases. They like there was a time when all MCs would go, right, just a bit of admin before we get on with the show, and I'd be like, oh, I hate that. We're not in work. It's, you know,
but that's because you've modelled yourself on someone else you've seen doing it, and you thought, oh, they did a good job, so this is the way to do it. So I think for that reason, it is important for people to watch as much comedy as possible, because you can see the different ways to do it right and maybe the ways to do it wrong. But I think the idea of hack, or like these tropes and stuff, that comes from comedians themselves, apart from the small minority who are huge comedy fans and attend comedy all the time. A lot of people don't. A lot of people, they enjoy a good night out, they enjoy a laugh, and they go to the Glee Club once a year, once every 2 years. And that's fine. That's just the way people consume their comedy. So really, a lot of them come from comedians putting unnecessary pressure on themselves and other comedians, really. If the audience are laughing, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I did a course with Alfie Noakes, We Are Funny project. If you've been to my MC course now and I ever hear you use the words house and keeping in front of the children, I will kick off. Think about the housekeeping, but never say the word housekeeping. And he also didn't like anyone using the word basically. And he's like, basically is what you would say whilst you're sitting on a fence talking to your neighbour. Oh, basically, I spoke to Pauline last night. Basically, she wasn't doing this. And he said, basically undermines it. And I'm so aware now that I can use the word basically 16 times in a sentence. I mean,
because I basically like the word basically.
I don't think it undermines anything that I'm saying, but now there's a flag every time I say it. Like, But if you write from the truth, you will remember the lines better. You remember the timing, the punchline, the journey, the repetition, and everything. So when I did that course with Marcus Berman, he said, always write from the truth. And then you can't get caught out. Because as opposed to going, what did I write as the next line in this joke? You know, when you were on holiday, you woke up, then you went to the bar, then you went to the restaurant, and you will, the synapses will take you there. And I saw one gig, and this woman, I was there with a friend from truck driving. We were international truckers at the time. And she went, I was in this bar in Barcelona, and I met this guy and such. And we know pretty much all the bars in Barcelona that she might have been on about. We know that. We know where she's been. 30 seconds later, she went, so, what have I learned about going to bars in Berlin? Hang on, love. You've just changed, because obviously this is not a true based, embellish. Add as many fantastical items as you want, but there needs to be, I like there being an underlying truth to it. The minute she confused Barcelona and Berlin, couldn't give a shit. I was out. If you can't remember the jokes, why have I got to?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that before. I can't think of an example, but when somebody's this is it. When someone talks about my girlfriend, and then later on in a set they go, well, my wife, and I'm like, well, which is it? Is it your girlfriend, your wife, your mistress? What's happening?
Yeah, I've had to change some jokes. I used to do a joke about being 33, but I can't use that anymore. It's become about 12 months out of date now. And it doesn't the joke doesn't work with 34 in it. So, but yeah, there's definitely a few levels to being genuine, and I think it's beneficial to you and beneficial to the audience as best possible. Like if you're a character actor and you're very, very thematic in what you do, and that's fair enough. But even someone like, Sally Firth, character actor from London, Sean, I think it's Sean Doherty. So apologies for Sean if she's watching or listening. I think it's Sean Doherty, lovely lady, really, really good actor in London. But she does a character called Sally Firth, and she's talking about her son. Her son haven't turned up for the gig.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I think
is it?
Yeah.
She
does it so well, and the character is probably not a million miles away from her elements of her personality. She is,
very funny.
But she sticks to it so rigidly and so well that it's really good, But it's sometimes people do character acts or versions of character acts, and it's nothing worse when the audience are thinking, I can't tell if this is real or not. If it's real, it's weird. If it's character, it's really funny. But I'm on and you can see the audience are like, they can't decide. And I think any ambiguity, try and remove it from your comedy. Like when someone says, that deserved more. It didn't. It got what it got. Maybe it was too clever. Maybe you were trying to be too clever with your wordplay. Sort of going back to the book that was mentioned by somebody like Zen, The Art of Zen and Stand-Up Comedy.
Oh, yeah. Zen and the Art of Stand-Up Comedy.
And it says things like, it's a really good book, and it says things like, the audience are busy thinking, they're not busy laughing, and sometimes people come to a show to switch off. They might, Brexit. I hate Brexit jokes, because straight away the audience goes like that, and why do we ever want to lose as whatever political standpoint you've got, why would you ever want to lose half your audience? But if some people really want to be political in their comedy, that's fair enough too. But for me, I wouldn't want to ever lose half the room. It's bad enough when there's that one bloke in the front with his arms folded who's not laughing. So losing half the room off a joke wouldn't be my sort of way of approaching it.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that you're there to entertain an audience. You're not there. It's not all about you, because comedians don't. We think it's all about us. You're there. I mean, I had a bit of an epiphany this weekend, going, "Oh my God, it is actually about." People are out, they want to be entertained. It's about entertaining them. It's not about, oh my God, can I do this? I'm stressed. I can't think of anything. It's like, well, if you're on that stage, you better think of something, because the audience are there. They want to have fun. They want to have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two mindsets and two types of gig along those lines. There's a gig that's for you, and there's a gig that's for the audience. And, if it's a new material, like you're trying material, that's for you. And, thank you to the audience for coming. If you weren't here, there wouldn't be a gig. But this gig is for me. I hope my new jokes. If you like them, great. Then the other type of gig is that you were there for the audience to entertain them. Like I said earlier, you're not performing for the other comedians. You're not performing for your therapy. You're not performing to get these things off your chest. You're performing to entertain the audience. And I think, when you're at that sort of gig, that's the responsibility you've got to try and adhere to as best you can, really. And if you're not, maybe don't be surprised if you don't come back, So I think that's ultimately the audience.
I went to a gig the night before Brexit referendum thingy went through. So not that long ago, maybe February. And it was Imran Yusuf. And the area that the comedy gig is in, it's a complete Tory stronghold, and people would have voted for Brexit. He is an Asian guy who's about to do a headline act at a comedy gig that's always sold out in advance, a month in advance, every month. And he could have just gone on there and entertained himself about left-wing material and how Brexit is shit. But he didn't. And you could see the audience were like, oh, he's gonna go at us.
Yeah.
He's gonna be people that voted this way are pricks. People that voted this way are what's wrong with the country. And he didn't. He made a few jokes that everybody could laugh at, and then just won everyone over. And to see what should have been on paper the most mixed matched audience versus act, they were crying with laughter because he did the gig for them, not for him.
Yeah.
And I was sat there like, oh, you're just a fucking genius. Like, no, way.
Oh, can I ask a couple? Ray's asked a couple of questions, so I thought I'll just answer them quickly for you. He's asked, why is the excellent For's a crowd ending? So we asked that one.
I agree. Good question.
Right, it is excellent. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's been fun, and all credit to Simon and Chris as well, who sort of helped format it with me, and Kane from Joke Pit sort of suggested it originally, and I just thought it was something nice to do. This fun, it's low tariff, it's putting content out there, but it's not here's my new stand-up that maybe isn't really going to work on this format. I don't know, at the time everything was very new, and I thought maybe on a bit of a low tariff sort of way of keeping ourselves out there, keeping in touch with each other as well as part of it, because everyone who's on the show at any point is a friend of other people on the show, and that's in a professional sort of and on a more personal level. But similarly, just like I hope coronavirus is time limited, and I want things to go back to normal, if not that I try and use the word normal too often. So really, I think hopefully things are going starting with all gigs are starting to sort of come out from behind the scenes a bit more now, and there's peaks of light shining through in terms of comedy gigs restarting. So I thought, well, I'm going on holidays. Next week. So I thought now's a good time to sort of maybe do a last show. But in reality, the very first time Simon, myself, or Chris, or anybody else involved has got a paid gig on a Thursday, they won't be turning up online. They'll be doing their paid gig, whatever that may be. So I thought, well, that's a reality that we're going to have to deal with eventually. Let's make it time limited and sort of hopefully be a good omen for things going back to normal after I come back from holidays. But that being said, we really appreciate everyone who's taken part in the show, everyone who's watched the show. It seems to be a nice little hardcore sort of crowd of people who watch Forza Crowd every week, and it's really nice, because people don't have to do that. There's 100 different things they could be watching at 9 o'clock on a Thursday. Tomorrow is on this week, not Thursday. I'll be in Greece on Thursday, hopefully.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. I've been in Greece before, so it should be nice.
Oh, lovely.
Where have you been in Greece before?
I've been to a few of the islands. I've been to Kos and Rhodes. I went to Kos about 3 or 4 times. Loved it. Rhodes is all right. Where are you going?
That's where I'm going, Rhodes. Yeah, Rhodes I should have said that before you said Rhodes is all right. You could have lied.
Rhodes is
it is lovely. No, I tell you right, it is lovely. You go to Rhodes Old Town, beautiful. The reason why I say all right, I went when I was early 20s with a couple of girls, and we were put in the grottiest hotel. No air conditioning. You couldn't use the pool because we were next to a pottery factory that had all pottery and silt in it, so you couldn't use the pool. The good thing was they had an amazing cocktail bar, so we just sat by the cocktail bar.
Room,
we had to walk into the old town, which is like half an hour away. That's why my memory of Rhodes is not as much fun as it was Kos, but you're going to have a lovely time.
Well, we're staying somewhere nice, and prior to my honeymoon about 3 years ago, I was always like, I want to explore on holidays. I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to see everything. But then I laid by the pool for 2 weeks on my honeymoon, and I was like, oh, actually, this is really nice as well. I like doing this, you know. So I'm just looking forward to another week. Haven't been on a bit of a break in some ways from just normal life. It's not really time off, is it? And it's not really sort of relaxing time at the moment. So it'd be nice just to go away, switch off for 10 days, and obviously I pretend I'm doing loads of writing as well when I'm there, because that's what you've got to do. You've got to tell. I'm going to do any writing. You've got to tell people you're writing, and that's the way to approach.
Take a little picture of a notebook and pen on the sun lounger. And on Twitter. He's a slave to the craft.
After I've taken a photo of my legs and posted, I've had worse Mondays. Just my legs. I've had worse Mondays. That's what we've got to do as well. But just to finish off,
hot dogs and legs.
My legs are like hot dogs have been rolled on the floor in a dirty kitchen, I think. Really. But just to finish off what Ray asked, hopefully we are going to pitch the show to some broadcasters, so we say. I don't want to say what exactly we're doing, because if we say it, then it'll happen with it. But
be a nice surprise if it happens.
Yeah. So pitch the show to some broadcasters, and perhaps it'll be available in a different format at some point in the near future. So it's not disappearing forever. It's just not going to be a Thursday night online thing after this week.
Format works. I think the chemistry between you guys really work. Sometimes having just a guest and another guest on does work, but having 2 guests that know each other, now that is when comedy truly happens. I'm just going to leave.
And particularly if you have guests where their first names begin with an L and an S, I think that particularly...
It's in the Zen book of comedy.
We're both very competitive and want to beat each other. I haven't forgiven you, Lucy. I still am for leading me down the garden path with that.
Right, Drew's here. This is why I wanted to bring this up. I did actually make a note to mention this, right? On Forza Crowd, for our podcast listeners in Australia and Canada and now Nigeria. The Forza Crowd panel show is a game where Drew Taylor is the host. Simon Emanuel, previous guest of the Kitchen Sink, and Chris Shopping, previous guest of the Sink. They're team captains and they have guests on, and Sarah and I were their plus ones. They're their other teammates. And it's whose line is it? Kind of who's telling the truth? 2 or 3 of these people are going to tell a story. So we just worked out that Simon's story has been up, which means the next story is between Drew and myself. And the reason why I cracked up is because the first line was, "When I was an usher in a wedding." Now, I am the only one that started laughing at this line because you don't have female ushers normally. And I was like, well, this is fucking Drew. And then you started saying I'm from Caerphilly, and I'm from Caerphilly. And everyone was like, it's Lucy. It's Lucy. She's laughing so strongly. It must be Lucy. I'm not an usher because of my mechanics.
Well, no, people do have female ushers these days. We live in very enlightened times.
I suppose.
Not in Caerphilly.
There's a strange satisfaction as well.
I have been to Caerphilly.
tricking somebody with a story like that, or like people getting it wrong. It's oddly satisfying. So you think, I read that out, and they couldn't work it out. But yeah, the fact you laughed, I think, made people think that you couldn't contain yourself because you knew it was you. But yeah, it was an interesting one. That was.
For me, it was like, she's laughing and Caerphilly. There we are, job done. It's got to be Lucy.
As a child, I went to a medieval themed wedding in Caerphilly Castle, and us kids were charging Chinese tourists 20p to go in and watch the reception, as they thought it was all set on to do it. So I love the fact that both of us, anyone that's gone to Caerphilly Castle and gone to a wedding, has somehow taken the piss.
Yeah.
My mother hit the roof. I'd made £3.
Have there been any episodes you particularly enjoyed, Drew, or has it all been quite good fun?
I think it really ramped up when we sort of firstly settled. Well, when I taught myself how to use the tech functions properly and was able to drop images, because like Kane from Jopit, he's really helpful. He's always available to, on hand to troubleshoot or just be there for different things. Because Jopit sort of typically a ticket provider, and they've branched out into more online stuff during lockdown because why not? And it's a perfect opportunity to do that. So just to take the pressure off, Kane and I took over the producing of the show from going through the keyboard, and it sounds very fancy, but it's dropping images in and things like that as you go along. But once I learned how to do that, we were able to get the most out of the show, I think, in terms of like a caption around with pictures, playing videos. But I think it really sort of picked up when the audience gets involved as much as possible, and that's nice because it is controlled by the person with the keyboard, and you can, if anyone decides to be not very nice, you can delete the comment and block them as well, which is always lovely to do that. It's quite a liberating feeling. But just like in a comedy show, if the audience are participating, it's great as long as it's controlled by the compere or controlled by the act on stage. So there's that element to it. But the audience make a show, whether it's live comedy or whether it's something you're watching online, and the audience involvement really sort of pushed it across then. And then beyond that, there's sort of the chemistry between the different people we have on. In South Wales, majoritively, a lot of people know each other pretty well in terms of in the comedy scene. And through car shares and different things, you do get quite sort of friendly and know each other well enough that you can work together in that sort of format. So it's all sort of been really good, but I think it did definitely pick up halfway through, perhaps when we were more confident what we're doing as well.
Yeah, I just I did it 3 times, 2 weeks back to back, and then last Thursday. Yeah. And I do think it was always fun and it was always good. But for me personally, I just felt like, it felt like I was definitely more relaxed on the last one. And I was definitely more relaxed on the second one because I was like, I think I've got the hang of this now. And then that's the sad thing, is you feel like you've got the hang of it, and you can it's really good fun coming up with ideas for captions for the pictures, and also all the telling you the stories and everything. They're all true, and they always guess me because I was called by my dad normally, Jim Bridgman, and so. But I was definitely more relaxed the more you do it. Then and the last one with Luce, it's all really good fun because you can just tease Chris about his hair and tease Lucy about wanting to beat her and stuff. It's really good. But
it's almost the same as like a lineup on a live comedy show. If you've got a really well balanced, well mixed sort of lineup that can handle the room and can offer different things, and perhaps knowing each other can be helpful to a certain extent. When you get the balance right like that, it makes for a good comedy show, and I think that's applicable to something like Forza Crowd when, as the host, you're trying to marshal the show a bit, but like a comedy show, you don't mind. You're not there to be the star of the show. You want to set people up and allow others to get the laughs, and it's about sort of. I enjoy that role because it's about organising the show and keeping it moving. But nobody's trying to outshadow everyone. People take it in turn. People speak when they say a turn. People give others a chance to make a joke off something they said, and that's the best way to do it because I don't enjoy the competitive element that sometimes creeps into comedy. You know, nobody must laugh at you. Everyone must laugh at me. And you know, we've done sort of Radio Wales things together a couple of times, haven't we? Sort of the Sunday show. And sometimes it goes great, but sometimes you can be on with somebody who they only want, not the host, you know, perhaps the other guest, and they want to do all the talking and not give you a chance to talk. And I think balance and turn taking is important, and giving others a chance to speak. If the show goes well, it's everyone's success. It's not just that one person who got the laugh, you know.
I totally agree. And I think that's what a lot of comedians kind of forget on a comedy night. They'll just rock up, expect, you know, it's all about them. And they're like, you know, can be a bit, you know, arrogant, I suppose, really. And they can be mean and, you know, they're not very nice to you, especially like if they're all, pros are generally very, because I've done a few of the tryout spots for the Glee, and pros are generally very respectful. And but you're not part of my experience has been, but you know damn well you are the middle spot. You are the new the tryout spot.
Yeah.
But I just think and doing lots of nights. I've done a few gigs for Mirth, usually August when everyone's in Edinburgh, but and then, you know, hosting a pro night or being part of a pro night, and then you'll have one act who's like, I had one act who just killed the room with a really horrible sexist joke, and you're like, mate, you know, this isn't all about you. You've dropped that in because you want to. For what reason, I don't know. And the whole crowd hated it, and they hated you, and now I've got to deal with that. Or if an act bloody goes over like by a good 10-15 minutes, and you're like, oh, I've got to deal with this and get you off the stage. Thanks a lot. We're buddies. I much prefer a comedy night when everyone's like, we're all in this together. Let's put on a great show. Because like you said, the audience don't know. They don't know that we don't, you know, necessarily all chat to each other. You always just, when I was just an audience, not just, but when I used to be in the audience, you expect everyone to do really well. And how can you do well if some other actor's being a bit shitty with you off stage? It's just not on, really, is it? Like you say, be professional.
I think you'll find though, like, and you said this yourself just now, like a lot of those issues don't really exist at pro nights and stuff, because that's exactly what the people are. They're professionals, and they got to that stage because probably, you know, 50% talent, 50% being a nice person, turns up on time, doesn't drink 10 free pints, doesn't sort of muck about, doesn't try and leave early, doesn't run over time. You know, and it is about being funny, but it's also about being someone who's good to work with as well. And just like a colleague in any other job, you know, if someone's an arsehole to work with, it doesn't matter how good they are at their job, it does sour you on them. And when something's as competitive as comedy, if you're an arsehole off stage, you're putting yourself on the back foot then, really. You have to be super funny. If you're still super funny, you probably will get away with it. But, you know, it is about being a good person, a nice person, and a good colleague as well, I feel.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I'm not naming any names, but I know at least one Edinburgh Award winning complete arsehole when it was on the local.
I think everyone does though. I think everyone's got that one person they think, oh, look, they're super talented, but they're not my cup of tea, you know. And if they invariably be different people who we have those opinions about, you know, because there's some people who I've always got on with personally. But I found out recently they're not a very nice person. And, you know, they have always been nice to me. But is that the most important thing when it comes to being a good colleague? I'm not sure, you know. So I think we all have those different opinions on people. But everyone can list someone who's a fantastic comedian, but just not their cup of tea, you know.
Yeah. It's the same as in the world of work, isn't it? You don't get on with everyone in work, but you kind of have to, because you've got to be at least civil or pretend that you can tolerate these people. You got to at least tolerate them because you've got to work with them. Can I ask you another question that Ray asked earlier?
Ask me as much as often as you want. It's no problem.
Do you think, Ignacio thinks that COVID material is going to get hacked quite quickly? I know we've discussed this before on this show, I think, haven't we, Lucy? That I think COVID material is already hacked. What do you think? Do you think it'll get hacked quite quickly, the COVID material? And that was from Ray again.
Like with comedy, there's like two levels of control I've sort of got and what I'm involved with, like just my own personal stage performance, and also if I'm involved in running any nights myself. Like there's a small one I run in Merthyr. You've done it, Sarah, don't you, in the back room in Woodfire.
Yes,
And I personally won't be telling any COVID material. I think people are sick to death of it. I'm sick to death of it. I can't wait for it to be gone and out the way, and our lives sort of, going back to what we used to. Maybe some of the good bits sticking around, do you know what I mean? But in majority, and I think audiences feel the same. You might have somebody in the audience who's lost both their parents to COVID. So is that particularly funny to them then? I'm not saying there's no humour to be found in it, but I think for me, it'll be a time, draw a line under that and I'll move on. Going as far as like running the night in Merthyr, I would be tempted to say, look, this is a COVID-free zone. Can we not do COVID jokes? And I think a lot of comedians will be on board with that, I typically don't write things about the news as such, because then the joke gets old pretty quick. It's out of date, maybe.
We've had this,
unless it's like royal family and scandal, then I can just keep doing that joke forever, can't it? That'll be fine. But yeah, so it won't be any coronavirus jokes from me. I had 2 bookings yesterday for August, which I thought I'd be happy when they came in, but I was literally did a little dance in my kitchen when the email came through saying I've been booked for 2 shows in August. I'd be grateful to be on stage, and I'll probably thank the audience for coming in and acknowledge that something's going on at the moment, but I won't be any material about it. It'd be time to move on and just let's appreciate, the opportunity to perform in front of a live audience and entertain people.
Yeah.
I do think you need to get some white face paint so that when you come back from your hollybobs, you draw a white mask shape, because it'll be the new panda eye.
Yeah, it could be. And also, my moustache on one side, I can't tell which side it is, grows down, and the other side doesn't. So I've only got about 80% of a moustache. One side will touch my this part of my chin, but the other side it doesn't. So that'll be useful then, because I can just get rid of the facial hair altogether. But it joins up once I'm on the other side. So,
so I wanted to ask.
I was going to say there are drips and drabs of gigs coming up now.
Yeah. I think the big concern for a lot of people, though, less audiences maybe, but especially comedians who've had bookings upon bookings upon bookings cancelled, and it's not all about the money, but it is about money as well, and people have lost thousands of pounds, and there's some support available. Exactly, and there's some support available, but there's not a lot of support available. A lot of people don't fall into either camp. Like, I don't fall into either camp. I'm not entitled to any, even though I've lost thousands of pounds, I'm not entitled to any support. So that's been quite tricky for some people. I appreciate others have got it worse, but I think sometimes it's okay to be pissed off about your situation as well. There is always someone worse out there, and that's true, and you should be grateful for what you've got, but it's okay to be pissed off yourself sometimes. I don't think there's any harm in that. But I think a lot of comedians are frightened that gigs will start back up and then they'll be taken away again, which is a concern, because nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. It could be some sort of disastrous uptick or change in things, and then the government is sort of almost forced to make these sort of these rules and these regulations in place again, and it's back to square one. So I think at the moment, I see a lot of comedians posting about, I did my first gig in 3 or 4 months. What a wonderful feeling! But I think there is a bit of fear that it's going to be taken away again just as quick as it came back. So hopefully that won't be the case, and hopefully things can continue to go up and stay that way. But fingers crossed. I think if you think positive, the result will be positive, perhaps. Not test positive, be positive.
Yeah. Do you think the government will ever recognise comedy as a performance art, like as an art form?
Well, like Rotunda, a comedy club in Glasgow, posted a really interesting statistic in that I think it's something like, apart from rock music, comedy is Scotland's biggest performance export. Things like the opera, ballet, things like that, they pretty much subsidised rather than sort of being profitable industries themselves. And it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But comedy sort of, is pretty sort of high on this league table of profitable and sort of creative industries. So I think it's unfair really that it's not. I never understood that. Similarly with like Welsh arts funding, comedy struggles to get it compared to other aspects of creative industries. And I don't know. I think the government need to sort of look at that in a bit more detail, really. But then it seems to me, and I might be speaking out of turn or getting it wrong, but it seems to be the industries that are highly taxable, the ones that are looked after first, and the ones that maybe when not everyone pays their tax properly. I don't know. I can only speak from my experience. I do pay my tax properly, and perhaps I shouldn't, because I don't ever get anything back. But yeah, it seems as if you sell beer and stuff in high volumes, that's fine. Or if you can ram people on an airplane, that's fine. But you can't sit people side by side in a comedy club, and I don't quite understand that. And I don't understand why comedy is just in the middle in no man's land by itself.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
interrupt quickly? Were you going to go to Edinburgh?
This
Were
year,
you planning?
no. This year, my plan was to
So
do.
you're
I've been to Edinburgh once. I went through a scheme called Best in Class, which is run by Sian Davis from Liverpool, and it's fantastic. She, rightly so as well. There's a lot of undercurrent of people talking about classism in comedy and working class comedians now in the voice or not the opportunity, because ultimately a lot of comedy is pay to play. You might have to pay to perform on the night, but you need to have this spare cash available. You know, going to Edinburgh, you have to pay for flyers and a room and all those things that go with it. And if you've got the funding, you can do it. Typically, then people who aren't working class might have more funding, therefore more opportunity. So Sean put on a sort of a funded scheme, Best in Class, that giving working class comedians a voice, and I was involved in the first year of that. So that was my chance to sort of dip my toe into Edinburgh, go to the festival with minimal cost. The scheme paid not for the whole trip, but it paid a fair bit towards it, and I was really grateful for that. I couldn't afford to go that year otherwise. And Sean's still running that. She's doing a fabulous job with that. So if anyone isn't aware of it or just wants to find out more, you know, search Best in Class on Facebook and it'll come up. Similarly for acts who want to apply for it as well. Oh, there we are. But for any actor who want to apply for it as well, get involved. Sean is awesome, and she's doing a really good thing. And similarly, people who come out of there have gone to do good things as well. So it's a good sort of breeding ground, I think, for actors who are perhaps on the threshold of starting to do paid stuff or starting to push their profile a bit. But I wasn't going to go to Edinburgh this year, but I was doing a small sort of independently organised tour with a live recording at the end of it. That was meant to be, it was started back in about 2 weeks ago, I think. Not including Bath and Leicester comedy festivals. It would have started about 2 weeks ago, and there was a show every week or two up until the end of October, and that's when the filming was. But I've had to put it on hold now, so I've moved the filming back to next May, because I didn't want to do it undercooked. I didn't want to sort of go in half-assed. I wanted to sort of still have the chance to build up towards the show before recording it. So yeah, that's put on the back burner really. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm just looking forward to my next gig as opposed to anything specific. And I appreciate this in some respects out of all our hands. So fingers crossed things will come back to normal and I get to do it, but at a later date, you know, which I know a lot of people are in the same boat.
Yeah, I think because like all of the businesses have just adapted. I think comedy will just have to adapt. Like hairdressers, they've got screens between them. I mean, I love when you see a club in a film, or like Mrs. Maisel, and these clubs, and they've got all these small tables. So you see in America, they got the small tables with a little lamp on, and they've got waitress service for all the food and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, why can't a comedy club just adapt? And I know it would be maybe a bit of outlay, but have small tables or have screens or something, I don't know, or just a bit of distancing. But I suppose there's less people that will be in, and that's for all the businesses to decide really. But I think they'll just adapt, and I think it'll be, oh right, it's low R rating, so we can have more people in, and it's it's a high R rating, so sorry, all the audience going to have to wear masks tonight. You know, it'll be something like that. We're just going to have to adapt to this. I hate the term new normal because nothing's ever normal, but but, and maybe there'll be lockdowns per town now, isn't it? Like Boris Johnson, the council do what they like, really. But
I think we've been quite lucky in Wales, really. I think Wales has done, I think the people in charge, it might be through chance and population density, but it seems the people in charge are doing a good job, and I appreciate no one really knows what's going on. But as comedians, you know, you're not very geographically restricted. You're sort of, the whole of Britain is sort of your working environment, really. So if you're just restricted to Wales, it's manageable, but the sooner you can be going further distances and doing these gigs back in England again, all the better. And I think it's just a case of we've got to wait and see, really. But yeah, I'm a bit sort of apprehensive, but I think if you think positive, it seems to be getting slowly but surely better all the time, and hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well about because early doors, it felt to me very early doors, but maybe you were like, no, I've been gigging ages at that point. You and Steph Evans and Cole Howarth, you all did a tour, didn't you? Tales from Wales, which to this day, I'm like, that's such a genius title. And you contacted lots of theatres and you went and you did your own shows, which I think is just inspired. Where did you get your confidence from? Where, talking as women, as a woman, I'd be like, I don't think I'd have the guts to do that. And you just went and did it. How did that come about?
Well, firstly, like the whole idea with the Tales from Wales thing, it was just sort of, it was just a silly throwaway rhyme, and I thought, well, yeah, it does exactly what it says in the tin, and people are not going to come and see Drew Taylor and Steffan Evans' I Would Have Fun, because no one knows who Drew Taylor and Steffan Evans is, and nobody cares who Drew Taylor and Steffan Evans is. But with Tales from Wales, we could do it in Wales, and people go, well, I'm Welsh, so I should like this.
I like
or
Wales.
Might be in Leicester, and they say, well, my grandfather was Welsh, perhaps I'll come to that. And we did get that. We get people saying, I came because my uncle's Welsh. And we say, oh, okay, that's cool, thank you, But another aspect of it was, and I've always taken this approach, I think I've said this to you before, Sarah, but for the purpose of the show, we're saying again, like, I think comedy has got a danger of like having a lot of gatekeepers, and you can't do this night, sorry, because I'm not going to let you. And I really struggled at first. I was quite shocked and taken aback, and it might be pure arrogance, but I just thought, well, why doesn't anybody want to give me unpaid 5-minute spots in Wales? Yes! Okay, then I'll put on my own comedy night, and then nobody can tell me I can't do it because it's my comedy night and it's my ball, and I'll do that. So I always took that approach from the start. Maybe I'm just unlikable, I don't know, but
no, you're not.
Then it was the whole thing of, well, I'm doing 10 minutes and it's going great. And I asked somebody at one point, could I do 20 minutes when they booked me for 10? And I didn't want to get paid for it. Could I do 20 minutes, please? And this person said, no, you can't. No. And I thought, well, that's fine then. I'll go and put on an hour-long show and do 20 or 30 minutes in that hour-long show. And it was partly just to sort of fuel mine and Stefan's sort of progression further and give ourselves bigger stage time and bigger sets and that sort of thing. But then it was an opportunity to keep doing it. But it was a moment when we booked the theatre down in Fishguard, and we'd done the show once at that point, just me and Stefan, in the Cardiff Comedy Festival, which was a great festival. It's gone on the back burner a little bit the last couple of years. But that was lovely. And then we said, right, let's go and do it in the theatre in Fishguard. And they allowed us. And I emailed them, but I emailed them professionally. And I said, look, this is a show we're doing. We want to take it to Edinburgh one day. It's true. It's not a lie. And we want to do some tours. And they were like, yeah, come down and do it. We haven't had comedy here for a long time, so it'd be nice to have comedy back. So maybe it was a bit of a happy accident there. And they said, you can hire the room for free. We won the first 30%, and then we'll keep the money after that. And I was like, great, low risk. It's lovely. And it ended up, we had like 99 people came to watch. The theatre was about 70% full. It was a lovely theatre down in Fishguard. I think you've been there, Sarah. The theatre.
I have. Yes, one of my favourite gigs ever, because they were an amazing crowd, so much fun. Because they got like I don't know what the technical term is, but you go on stage and it's like the audience are like a wall in front of you that is so graded, the seating. And I went on and I was thinking off stage, they were doing a raffle and they were raising money. And I think I went on and it was a risky first joke, but I thought, I'm going to have to say it. And I'm like, guys, I'm giving my fee tonight for this an amazing cause. I've spent £4 on the raffle, and luckily they all laughed, and that was all right then. One of the best gigs of my career. It was so much fun. Yeah, and lovely people running it.
But sort of, Paul runs is lovely. But prior to that show, it was sort of, somebody reviewed us when we did it in the Cardiff Comedy Festival, and I think they were just some sort of journalist student from Cardiff Uni or something. They were like, oh, Drew Taylor and Steffan Evans clearly just filled the room with their friends, and that's why they had a good response. And I thought, it's rude. Unnecessarily spiteful, but there we are. But there were quite a few friends in the audience watching, because it was in Cardiff, and why wouldn't it be? Down in West Wales, and a couple of people, Stefan knew, came along, but it wasn't any friends in the audience, and it was like, oh, this is real now. And I did think just before the show, what if this goes terrible? And because there's all prior to that point, it's always been part of a comedy bill, and maybe I was the lowest sort of act on the bill, and it was fine because I was just part of this comedy show. But no, we were the comedy show, and there was nowhere to hide, or no headliner to come on after us and mop up, or no, really experienced pro MC. But it went really well, and I think that could have been make or break. That could have been, actually, this isn't for me. I can't do this. But it went well, and I think it sort of pushed, luckily, really, I suppose, just by chance, but it pushed us on then, and it gave me the confidence that I can get up on a theatre and entertain a paid audience for 30 minutes, which until you do it, you don't know that. And perhaps in his naivety and an arrogance, maybe, but it went well. And I think that taught us a lot too about, how to plan a show and how to contact venues and how to sell yourself professionally. And when they say, do you want to pay £200 higher fee, you say, no, we want to go 80-20 on the door. And they go, oh, okay. Oh, he's done this before. Shit. And I think, that's an aspect in self-marketing. And I think that if the comedy industry, touch wood, it'll never happen, but if the comedy industry did change how it's viewed, I could perhaps independently try and sort of create a bit of a path. And that was the idea behind doing this recording this year as well, is, I'm not going to spend money on going to Edinburgh and dive in that big pond with all these gatekeepers. I'm just going to do my own little thing and see what that comes out of it. And same again, worst case scenario, you're a better comic at the end of it. And that's always the approach I've taken, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I saw the same advert as you, Drew, on a forum recently for gigs.
Right.
And I was ended with something like, the quality I expect. Don't contact me unless you're that good. At which point you're supposed to sit there and go, well, I'm only average. I mean, I'm barely humorous. Quite, and then the next day there was not enough people have replied. I thought people wanted gigs. So I sent an email and then I said, look, don't know if you're only going for big names. I've got 10 minutes. Let me know if you want me to do the gigs that are local to me. And I don't know when that got sent, if he opened it up and thought, who the fuck does she think she is emailing me? Or is he going to think, well, no one else has been in bloody touch. I can't tell. But it took me today to have a chat with myself to have the confidence to send that email.
I think though, it's two sides to that. Like I don't think people need to be but same again, I don't think that message when it was posted was intended maybe how you read it. I understand why you might have read it that way, but I don't think it was meant quite like that. I think it was just a friendly sort of, look guys, if you know me, you know the nights I book, and don't apply if you're not ready for it yet. But I'm assuming maybe you don't know that person as well, yeah? So you were in that camp of like, they don't. Actually, I don't know that yet. So, so exactly. So it's like, I don't know that yet. But I think it comes from, if you could do it as a sort of test yourself, is you could put a fake gig up saying these spots, £100 for this, that, and the other, and you will get dozens of people applying who are not ready for it. And I think sometimes promoters get a little bit frustrated by that, or like email only, please. I've just friend requested you.
Yeah.
Personally, it doesn't bother me. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's just social interaction. It's not the end of the world. But some people, when you run a lot of gigs and stuff, it can get a bit tiresome, I think. And you get people applying for £200 spots when they've done 6 open mic, and it's like, and I get that, and that's just it's no offense meant, but it's just people being naive and sort of overshooting themselves and stuff. But then I've said myself on this podcast, if you don't ask, you don't get. So there is that element to it as well. But I think sometimes promoters do get a bit jaded, but also they're in the position of power where they've got the gigs, and then sometimes they get a little bit, loose with the way they put things across. Not all, but I think, but when things are typed online in black and white, it's easy to sort of maybe misread it how it was meant as well. And I think that's something we're all guilty of sometimes.
Because when you said, I'm trying to do 5 minutes for free, I'm thinking, well, I'm willing to do 10 minutes for free. I'm willing to do 10 minutes for free. Don't spit on me.
Yeah. But Barbara Nice, when Barbara Nice came on, this was something I was going to ask you, Drew, see what you think. Barbara Nice, she's lush, she's so good.
Yeah.
But she did say, and she said it as well at Beefy's gig the other night as well, she's just not keen on new material nights, or gigging for free, as she calls it. What do you think of new material nights? Do you think they should exist? Do you think Barbara's very much like, no, just try and get on a night, just do a night and try and get on it.
Barbara said it used to be that a pro bill
Yeah.
would always have 1 or 2 5-minute open spots so that the new generation can learn from the older generation, and there was sort of like a passing of the baton, hanging around in the rooms, seeing how they behave, picking up gems of advice. And now it's new or pro.
Yeah. Well, like in London, and I'm only speaking from an outside viewpoint, there seems there's a very, very clear divide between the open mic circuit and the pro circuit, and you won't work your way through, you won't complete the open mic circuit and then be on the bottom rung of the pro circuit. You know, they are two different entities, really. But I used to do this when I'm still a new act, really. 5 years is not a long time to perform in comedy in the grand scheme of things. There's people who've been going for 30. There's acts who me and you know very well, so who've been going 30 years. Do you know what I mean? To name someone we know, sort of, you know, on a local scene. But I think I would always rather be the least funny person in the room, because that means you're sort of trying to level up and trying to aspire up. And, you know, it doesn't mean you have to have the worst performance, but I mean sort of, you know, if you're the funniest person in the room, are you in the wrong room? And that's not quite the way I want to try and express it, but the same sort of approach as that. But I would rather be the 10-minute spot. I'd rather be doing 10 minutes on a pro bill than an open mic night or a new act new material night. Like, new act new material certainly got its place, because otherwise people are just doing the same jokes over and over again. But I would rather do one new bit in amongst 2 solid bits on a pro bill, and then hope you get away with it, than turn up to a new act new material night. And one, I find it hard to do all new material because I lose the confidence in what I'm saying, or I don't remember it as well because it's new. But 2, you know, with a pro night, there's going to be a good mic, and there's going to be probably a good audience in, and there's going to be, you know, a number of reasons why it's better. So yeah, Janice is spot on with that, really. There should be, you know, as much professional comedy as possible, but also as much opportunity within that as possible for newer acts. Going back to the semi-pro night concept, no semi-pro comics, but semi-pro idea of where you got your paid opener, your 2 acts in the middle maybe, and then the closer. But that being said, like when I put stuff on, I typically don't offer open spots. I normally would offer like a paid 15 instead of an open spot, because 1, there is plenty of open spots out there if you chase them enough, but 2, it's like a nice bridging gap between 10 and 20 minutes. Because to go from 10 to 20, it's a big jump as well. It's a lot of additional material. Not just additional material. And I think a lot of people make this mistake. It's not about standing there for 20 minutes and talking. It's about doing well for 20 minutes, or doing well for, you know, 17 plus minutes if you want to be, you know, a little bit of leeway. But people think, oh, I can do 20. Yeah, but it's got to be a solid, you know, a good standard 20. But that 15 then is a nice bridging gap.
Yeah.
So we're ready to do that, or want to do that, or can't quite get 20s yet. Well, it's like, well, there's 15 minutes for 40 quid in a local gig that I'll offer to a local act. So the cost is, you know, the cost isn't there again there. But also for my benefit, it makes it easier to say no to some acts as well. You know, it's a little bit of a standard and a little bit of a threshold. And when you're ready, you can do it. But until you're ready, you can't. And I think that's a fair way to be as well, because going back to the responsibility of the audience we talked about earlier, you know, if the audience are paying to come in and stuff, are you doing anyone any favors by putting somebody on the bill who perhaps couldn't be doing it yet? But you know, there's different views with that. But I think, yeah, as much comedy as pro comedy as possible, and opportunities for newer acts within that. But then who decides who's the acts who are ready for it and who the acts who should be doing it? I don't know, it's tricky.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, what's your criteria for choosing acts? Because I know you're quite discerning. Yeah, help me on your bill. But yeah, I know of acts that you won't have on the bill. You don't think they're ready. I was just wondering, what's the criteria? What makes you decide what you'll have? What?
I think, you know, when people talk about comedy CV and stuff, and like, what gigs are you doing? What gigs are you currently doing? It doesn't mean nobody can do the next gig up. But I think, you know, if someone is doing a paid 20 at Hot Water, or a paid 20 at Glee, or a paid 20 at Kill for a Seat with Silky and things like that, you don't need to then come and do an open spot. You know, I think that's a bit of a false economy that people try and jam in there. But, oh, come do an open spot for me. It's like, well, so every other comedy club in the UK are wrong. They got their opinion is not as good as yours. But when it comes to booking for me, I think, especially in the valleys, there is a certain idea of comedy amongst some people, not all. That's really unfair to say that, because the Valleys isn't as sort of dyed in the wool and sort of stuck in the 70s or 80s as some people might think it is. It's not. There's plenty of people who are as sort of progressive and level-headed as anyone in any other part of the country. But there is sometimes an undercurrent of female acts are not funny, which is absolute nonsense. And some of the best headliners in the country are female acts, and arguably someone like Janice Connolly, Barbara Nice, we mentioned. Is it a better headliner in Britain? She can hold her own against anyone. But for that being said, you are battling that in the audience sometimes. So I do try my best not to put any female acts on who perhaps aren't ready for it yet, because that one bloke in the audience will say, I knew she wouldn't be very funny because she's a girl. And that's nonsense, because you would never say that to any male act who didn't do a great job. So I always try and book, where possible, really solid female openers and headliners and compares to try and break down that sort of misconception idea that, it's not just about blokes. Similarly, I don't like overly largy comedy. I don't like, that sort of unnecessary trigger buzzwords being used, like slag, and so I really, it's a big turn off for me. You're there to entertain, not offend anyone. So stuff like that I sort of stick away from. But comedy itself polices itself pretty well in that. There isn't many acts out there who use language or words like that, and there's not many offensive acts out there, to be honest. But yeah, I think just sort of I like giving back to the scene, and there's no point in taking all the opportunities and not giving opportunities out, and I think that's important. So I always try and reserve spots for local acts who can do that spot, and similarly try and book someone who's going to do a good job, so that the gig grows and comedy itself locally grows as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
I'll send you an email tomorrow, Drew.
Yeah, ladies. I'm not booking anything at the moment, Luce. But when I am, I'll let you know.
Don't ask, don't get.
She is very good.
So this is where we start looking to wrap it up, but we ask you to promote whatever you're doing. Yeah. Now, ultimately, what is it? A Just Give page for Drew Goes to Greece? What can we promote? You're just about to bugger off.
Oh, well, 2 weeks gave me a £500 voucher for moving my holiday for 3 days. So that was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So we had a nicer room for £500. But yeah, it's very little going on at the moment. There's my podcast, which I do with Stefan, Tales from Wales podcast, because we wanted to wring as much as possible out of that name. He wasn't just going to drop that at any point. So I just may as well keep it going. The last episode of Forza Crowd is on Joke Pit. By streaming out on Joke Pit tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. So, pop along and get involved with the last show. And then I've got these 2 shows in August. One's in Swansea, one's in Wrexham, but I don't know the details yet. I haven't been told the details yet. So
let me know, because I'll come and see you in Swansea.
Ah, cool. Thank you. That's nice. Hopefully they go ahead and it'll all be.
You are Drew Taylor hyphen stand up, is it? I think on Facebook is your.
No, I think I kept it for everything. I think it's Drew Taylor Light, but it's LITE. That's my Instagram handle. Is that the right word? But also
it's Drew Taylor hyphen comedian. I was right about the hyphen.
Oh, there we are. I don't even know what my own page is. That's good. That's probably why it's never ever have any traffic on there. But that's the story, I think.
Have you heard anything off the Lion in Treorchy yet?
I'm doing. I was going to do one of my warm-up shows there. That's still on the table for 26th of September. I spoke to them recently and said, let's keep it in the diary until we know it's not, sort of thing, rather than just sort of preemptively cancelling stuff, because it's quite depressing, really, sort of, going to a diary and scribbling on bookings. It's lovely to fill a diary up, but it's a bit shit when you've got to sort of scribble in it. So that's going ahead as far as we know. Maybe in the end of September, we'll be faced with a lot more normality, possibly, but again, it's up in the air. So that's that with that. But I don't. Unfortunately, I don't know if it'll come back as a pro night like it was. It might be something that can be done sort of independently, like just room hire with the venue. That could be an option. But the venue were great in terms of, giving it
so
giving it as much of a go as they could as well. They did everything in terms of, no comedian ever sort of had their fee cancelled or anything like that. Even when the audience wasn't there, the owner was very, very forthcoming and very sort of generous in that sense. And they gave it they gave it, as much of a chance they could as well. I think 18 months it was running for approximately. They had some superb headline acts there as well from around the country, and not to mention, just top. What's this? Drew Taylor, 5 minutes from Bear Martin 2 jokes unless you go for Drew Taylor Gold. Yeah, it's a free trial, it is, Jamie. It's a free trial for 30 days, and then you've got to get a platinum membership.
Yeah. I love the Cherokee one. I just had the most fun there. They were just such a lovely audience. And they were really receptive because I'm quite chatty when I perform, isn't it? And they were just like, here's some absolute corkers out of them. It was just so much fun. And I like travelling to Cherokee because the bar downstairs, to me, coming from Swansea, it was like the Wild West. You go, because up in Cherokee, there's not many places to go, is there, unless you're having to go like an hour down to Cardiff. So
but
wild, and then they checked out at midnight. It's so much fun.
Cherokee's quite unique as well. Cherokee's a very, very Merthyr the same. Cherokee's very sort of proactive, and he's trying to do a lot for the town itself. Whereas I live in Porth, which is 80 miles from Cherokee. Porth is it's on its knees a bit. There's not a lot going on here, and nobody does anything. But Cherokee, it's quite a hub of like nice cafes, nice shops, nice bars, nice restaurants, and they've got a website. Visit Cherokee. Don't just go out here locally, come here as well. And I think that's a nice way to be. And I think that's what's lacking in some valleys towns, really. It's not you only go here if you're from here. You want to visit here as well. And that's a really nice idea. So I think Cherokee's doing a lot of good things. It's just a shame that they can't sustain a little small pro comedy club as well. But, never say never. There's no reason why it possibly can't come back. But for now, perhaps my show being there will be the impetus to get it going again. Who knows?
Yeah, and it might be a good place that like acts could hire out to do their previews, for that, and advertise. Doesn't have to be on a Saturday night.
So, yeah, I think so. As long as it's sort of properly advertised and people know it's there. There's nothing worse than I didn't know it was comedy on. I would have come to that. That's not specific to that. You hear that all in the country, but there's nothing worse than that. But yeah, I think if it is an excellent room, and I think it could be well used for that possibly. So see how it goes when I finally can get back up there, and possibly it can be done going forward.
Oh well, listen, thanks so much, Drew.
No, thank you.
Is there anything more you want to add? Taking over again.
I did send Drew a list of questions that we were going to ask him today. One was, has being a woman held him back in comedy? Has he ever felt unsafe at a gig? And has he got any gossip on you? Because we usually interview women. He said yes to all three.
Yes to all three, yeah.
But you'll never tell.
You'll never tell. He's too much of a gentleman.
I'll never forget that day in Bristol, Drew. Remember that?
That was a good day. Yeah, I learned a lot that day. It was a good day out.
Yeah. I learned a lot that day.
Yeah.
Drew, message me after this because I need to know what the shit's gone on. I learned a lot that day. Did you find yourself sexually, or did you kill somebody and bury them?
More the latter. If I would have liked to have killed somebody. Let's put it that way. Got drama. It was drama, but I'll tell you about it again. But thanks so much for coming on, Drew. It's been really informative and good fun.
Yes, it's a nice way to spend a couple of hours on a Sunday. Thank you.
Yeah,
if we can send you the link and you can share the final episode on your socials, that would be totes amazing.
Yeah, no problem. Right. When does this get put back out now?
Once it's finished, it's up for 2 weeks. It'll always be up on YouTube, and we'll also turn it into a podcast, which is remarkably successful.
We're 4 followers away from getting to the next level to be an affiliate. We don't get any money, but we get extra icons, I think. So I
think it was a
sticker. Could be, like a beanie baby or something.
Yeah, or a free mug.
Well, they might just tell it was a free mug and there not really be any mugs.
I'm fine with theatre of the mind. It's fucking fine.
Yeah.
Right,
Thanks
we'll let
very
you go.
much.
Thank you so much.
There's no thank you. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you
Bye.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Tomorrow. Bye.
Hopefully at the real gig as well.
Oh, yes, please. Oh,
Oh.
I know we do this every single time, but
Oh, great. So good. He's so lovely. That was really interesting, especially from Jamie says we get money in theory, do we? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think we get
Right, Sarah.
more stuff. But we're 4 away. I'd love to get up to 50.
Right.
Right.
I'm just gonna do this. Right. Right.
Are you going to the loo?
Cope with it.
Because I was gasping for the loo. Yeah. I should have put mascara on. I have got makeup on, believe it or not. The jacket! Oh, I'm
come
so
on,
glad
it's a
you
good
forgot
fucking
it.
jacket. I can't believe I forgot it. So annoyed.
Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
So not fair. I put it away.
Do you have a kazoo as well?
Oh, sorry. For our podcast listeners, I just flipped to the bird.
76 trombones in the big parade. Yeah. The gods of comedy went, no. You don't need that jacket.
You don't need the jacket. Too good. You've been booked for the jacket alone. They need to hear the jokes.
Yeah. You're already a woman. You're disadvantaged enough as it is. Let's not go overboard.
Pair of tits and fucking buttons.
Do you know what? I was there for a comedian's first ever gig, like James Dunn, his first ever gig, and he had crazy hair. He had black leggings on and a jacket like that, but with like big epaulets. And I've never let him forget it because it was hilarious. But he thought he was cheese in this jacket. I'm like, I'm here to tell you, you are not cheese.
Jesus in a jacket. I mean, I thought it was always sharp in a shroud, but Jesus in a jacket.
Cheese, not Jesus. Cheese. Have you heard that expression? He thinks his shit is chocolate. Thinks he's cheese.
Moon on a stick. Yes.
Yeah.
Moon on a stick.
I'm like, for someone who like thinks they're all that, my saying is
cheese in a jacket. Cheese. No, I'm making it now. They think they're Jesus in a jacket.
All right. That's what that is now. But
right,
what a great
so much to talk about.
So sorry, I did say a lot, but I've known him a while, so sorry.
At least I spoke, so we're getting better. Sorry, podcast listeners. I've just given her the V's, and she's just sort of, I think, was it like she's drinking a small cup of sympathy for me?
I'm closing my mouth. I'm zipping my mouth.
Zipping my mouth.
Where the key?
Harry Ray grew up the phrase "all fur coat and no knickers." That's not what we're on about. That is that was in Latin my school motto, sweetheart. So
I never understood what it meant. It means that you think you're rich, you like to show that you're rich, but actually you haven't even got bloomers on. Right.
Yeah, but actually underneath she's got no pants on because she's probably a prostitute. So
right,
let's start with the old. Okay, so let's go with Mary Tyler
review
Moore.
time. Yeah, maybe we should do a little video for this, maybe, or a little. Should I do a little thing with my ukulele? It's review time. Cling, clang, cling. There we are. Sorted out a little theme tune now.
Yes, please, you have.
Did I tell you I did a theme tune for the family quiz? It's Friday night and I'm feeling right for the family quiz. I do a theme tune. I've done a video and everything. Right.
Wow. I didn't know that.
For the show, I'd normally charge, but seeing as it's our show, I can do us a theme for the review if you like.
As long as you save it as a JPEG, a GIF, or an MP4, we can put it into StreamYard as long as it's less than 5 minutes and 100 megabytes.
Okay.
Yes. When Drew said he felt really proud of the show once he started sorting out the tech side of it. Oh, the feeling of satisfaction when you manage to get a video to work through StreamYard. You think this is how the Silicon Pirates felt. Like when they first discovered computers. Right.
Yes, you can, Ray. Ray's asking, Sarah, can we have the ukulele next time the Rough House song happens? Yes, you can. If you really want to, you can.
My counter argument is
that Lucy's hosting the next Rough House, isn't she, Lucy?
Yes, it'd be my second ever then. Or third ever by then.
Oh, that's a nice t-shirt. I like that. Your best. Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, I like that.
Look at me, Groot. Check me, Groot out.
I'm sure that's what all of our audience are checking out right now.
They're looking at the Groots. That's it. They got a big Groot appreciation. Yes, luckily, due to my interest in comics, the Marvel Universe, and Groot, people have bought me Groot presents for my birthday and Christmas. I've even got a massive hoodie, zip-up hoodie, with a huge fucking Groot. And there's nothing
I love all the Marvel films.
Well, it's nothing more impressive than like someone staring at you. And I honestly never think somebody was checking me out because of it looks. And at least I know when I wear my Groot stuff, I can turn around and be like, "Are you into Groot as well?" And they're like, "Yeah." Where did you get that from? They're not looking at me tits. That is pure Groot envy. Right.
I know.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Right, Mary Tyler Moore. Right, shall I go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first. Go on.
I liked it. Now, I watched the first series. I'm a bit of a completist when it comes to anything, but there's too many episodes. Mm-hmm. So I've watched series 1, episode 2, because episode 1 wasn't available, and I watched series 5, episode 1 one of the episodes that Betty White is in, because she wasn't in it from the beginning. She was in it from series 5 on. So, and the woman who plays Rhoda, where they had the spin-off for Rhoda, I'm like, is that the same actress? She looks so different. Series 1, episode 1. Really liked it. It's got lots of solid jokes. Betty White is amazing. She's so funny. But the thing that I noticed is Mary Tyler Moore. When you think that it's the Mary Tyler Moore show, she's like everybody's straight man. Everyone else is funny around her, and it's like she's walking through and just reacting to everyone else. Yeah. I thought, that's interesting. Today, if we were doing the Sarah Therese Bridgman show, I'd want to be the one to do the punchlines. I'd want to be the one, today it tends to be, that's the funny one. But with this one, everyone else is funny, and she's just like wafting through, kind of reacting.
There's a lot of stop, shrug, moments for laughter.
It's very old-fashioned.
Now, I do agree. It was difficult to find episode 1, series 1, but I did find one. And she the premise is she moves to this place because she was going out with a doctor for 2 years who said they'll get more serious when he gets his doctorship.
Right.
License.
Yeah. Yes, his degree.
They take off his doctor plates, when he gets the badge.
Once he's got his catheter oath.
And then he dumps her.
Right.
So she supports him all the way through his doctor training, and then he decides that actually she was great to make him a meal after a 14-hour shift. But he's just not really interested in sort of, making her a wife, which is all women in that day wanted. That's all they were obsessed with. And she goes for a secretarial job. And Lou, the chief of the station, says, how many words a minute can you type? And she's like, what? And then he goes, why aren't you in a relationship? And then she goes, you can't ask that. And he went, yes, I can. She went, all right, 46. Because then she meant she'll go back. And there's this like when the two Ronnies did that answer the one question after the next question is asked routine. Right. And it's like, why aren't you married? What religion are you? Are you going to leave us to have a baby? And she always does this uncomfortable thing. But then walks away from she gets assisted associate producer or something. Mm. But there are still really derogatory female jokes. Like a man will walk in and go, hello, and then dump a coat on a woman's arms. You're a woman, therefore the servant. Mm.
But they make fun of that, though, don't they? Like,
But then, like I said, with Rhoda, it's very divisive. They have to accept the stereotype in order to break the stereotype.
yes. Like the
And
episode. Oh, sorry.
just like when she said to Rhoda, like, what kind of mother do you want to be? And she went, I know I don't want to be unwed. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's I definitely would like to watch more of it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more than the one episode of Rhoda I watched, but it's all very, similar, isn't it? They've clearly got the same writers and stuff. I think I probably want to watch more of. I like Mary Tyler Moore's reactions, but having watched it, I'm really surprised like how popular it was. It was massive. It was like 30 Rock, I guess, by today's
But I
standards.
think with Mary Tyler, with Rhoda, remember I mentioned how like from the day one of Rhoda, she got a partner, and then it's all about becoming a wife. I think this is the Girls on Tour one. This is Rhoda and Mary are going to have more laughs, more jokes.
Yeah.
Finding a man, failed relationships and bad dates, and guys that think, honking your breasts to say hello. Those kind of, I think that's what it will be. And I will actually enjoy sitting down, and when I can't think of anything that I want, that will come to mind quite quickly.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
sure,
Me too.
I don't like Phyllis's character. She's just got a face that I don't think even a mother could love. But she's got a child.
Funny.
She's got a child, and she only teaches her from like books about how to teach children how to be raised, and she ticks those boxes. But I don't know. I think I know too many women like her, and that's therefore I don't want to choose to have her in my own life. Somebody was saying, "Oh yeah, Rhoda is the sequel." So you got the Mary Tyler Moore. Then Lou went off and did the chief of the paper went off, but that wasn't a comedy. That was a drama, a serious drama. There was a cartoon made of Carlton the doorman from Rhoda. And then they said, and then there was a spin-off with Phyllis. And I went, oh, fuck off. I couldn't be having that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised, how many people in there. I'm like, I know that face. I haven't Googled it yet. But the guy that plays the newscaster, the really vain newscaster guy.
Baxter, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm positive he was a doctor in Scrubs. Who looks
no,
like...
I can see how you think it would be.
Oh, it's not him, is it? All right. It does look like him.
The difference between Mary Tyler Moore and that guy being that age already, he'd be like 150.
Oh, right.
But it's the same shape, it's the same face, it's the same hair, everything. He caught my eye as well.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like I said last week with Rhoda, the female characters in Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda have got more development, more character, and more pithiness than most female characters have in TV nowadays. So where the fuck have we gone wrong there?
Yeah. And remember, in the early 90s, might be in the late 80s, we had Girls on Top, Ruby Wax, Jennifer Saunders, Dawn French, all of that, Tracy Ullman, all of that lot. That was seen as, look, women in comedy. Oh, look, they're doing... And yet America had been doing stuff, 20, 30 years previously.
we've got
20 years previously.
Right, we had Smack the Pony, which we'll have to review one day,
that came after.
I love Smack the Pony. And since then, I think there was something in Watson that just a two-hander. There's a couple of two-hander female BBC Two comedies. But since Smack the Pony, what can you name that's been female-centric?
Yeah. It's hard, yeah. And then Fleabag came along. Isn't the same kind of comedy, but it is funny. But it's like dramatic funny rather than sitcom funny. It's not sitcom funny. Yeah. I love Fleabag.
That's why that the other one that's on the BBC iPlayer at the moment, the Holly Walsh, Caroline Quentin.
Motherland. I love Motherland. Love it. So funny. But you don't have to have all women and all men. Why not make everything a little bit more equal anyway, isn't it?
That's what Mary Tyler Moore and in Rhoda, I think it was maybe episode 7 before the dad even turned up. He was just a voice in the bedroom. And one day he walked through the door and I was like, what are we doing? To be just Rhoda, Brenda, Mother, Joe. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I will definitely watch more. I'm glad to have them because I'm always looking for 20-minute comedies, especially like with this one as well. Because I watched half of one of them last night and then the other half this morning, only 10 minutes. When I'm eating my breakfast or having my lunch, it's perfect. Whereas a lot of programs, 40 minutes. For me, it's just a little bit too long to just be at lunchtime anyway. But yeah, anything more? Has anybody else anything they want to say about Mary Tyler Moore?
Oh, and
Otherwise,
you know how we're
let's
going
move on.
backwards? We're going completely the wrong order. So we went with Rhoda.
Yes.
Then we went with Mary Tyler
Mary
Moore.
Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore was in the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh yeah, so she's a spin-off from Dick Van Dyke. Oh God. I don't want to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. It's just gonna be more of the same.
Unless it's Diagnosis Murder, and I've seen all of them.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be similar sort of thing. It'd be excellent writing. Let's do something a bit different for our old one next time. I'm thinking, what do you think? I'm thinking 2 Ronnies.
Right. Okay. So there's 2 Ronnies.
Or should we talk about Girls on Top? Girls on Top.
Right. If we do 2 Ronnies, can we do The Worm That Turned?
Okay. If I can find it.
I can find it. I've got it saved. Okay.
Worm That Turned.
I'm assuming you don't know anything about it.
No.
But don't. If anyone is watching and they know Sarah personally, do not ruin this.
Okay.
Because The Worm That Turned is probably one of the most mind-blowing. It got commissioned. It got written. Yeah. Because the other thing I was going to say is, I was randomly watching something on the BBC iPlayer the other day, and you know how I said like we were watching Miss America, and then it showed us that BBC Little Prankers CBBC.
Oh yes.
Like who's putting those links together? Right? I was watching it, and up came My Family, Robert Lindsay, Zoe Wanamaker, and the jokes were so fucking cutting edge.
Really solid.
It was the kind of internet that you needed to AOL to go. He was catfishing somebody.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know the internet was around then. And yeah, I just thought, wow, this has to go on this somewhere. But yes, 2 Ronnie, The Worm That Turned. I can't believe this. I send this link to so many people. Okay.
So that's the old one.
Right, let's get Hannah Gadsby.
Okay.
This has got nothing to do with her humour. This is just me making an observation that when she stops, goes over to the store, picks up her drink, and does that with her glasses, she's got the cutest face in the entire world, and I just want to cop it and kiss it.
I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear that.
But she's made a joke that's landed really nicely, and she's letting it just move through the audience and just goes,
yeah. I don't know how she stays so calm, to be honest. Because she must be like, surely she must be like, yeah.
I think that's the autism.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you think of the show then? And everyone, if you watched and you want to join in, just keep chatting in the chat.
Well, how I need to watch
Hannah Gadsby Douglas.
Yes, so I need to watch Nanette. She made that very clear. For 10.5 minutes, she made it very clear you need to be watching Nanette. And she was like, put your hands up if you haven't seen Nanette. And I was like, woo, there's like 6 of us.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
I liked the fact she even referenced, I've cut the show short to be able to tell you what you're getting. And I liked that because she set every part of her show up to be a fucking callback without being a callback. In fact, she's renamed it. It's not a callback now. It's a call up. I'm going to tell a Louis C.K. joke. And then she does it, and everyone goes, "Hey!" Whereas if she did a Louis C.K. joke, and then half an hour later did a topper, so she's cut the work out. Don't put the effort in making a joke a callback. Make a lovely list of agenda.
Yeah. Is this a comedy gig or a meeting? Yeah.
And then when you get to the any other business, and they already know that's coming, they're like, "Hey!"
Yeah. It gives an added delight, doesn't it?
Beautiful.
Like when I first saw it, and I thought I'm going to put this on, and then I ended up doing other stuff, and I did the same thing with Nanette. I think because it's so much information, it's so rich
Yeah.
in things that it makes me think about things as well, that I have to kind of watch it again later. Because the first time I watched it, and this is the same for Nanette, I've got to say, I didn't laugh very much. I enjoyed it, but when it's something you really understand, you're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. It didn't have that.
Well, what she said was she turned off the comedy tap, and that was her own decision. So she did take the comedy out of comedy, which in turn is a joke. So
yeah, no, yeah, but this is.
But I haven't seen Nanette. You have.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to explain how I process her stuff in particular, because she does mention a lot of stuff that maybe you're not aware of, need to have a little think about. It's not already there as knowledge before. I can't just, it's like when I went to go and see Stuart Lee the first few times, I'm like, right, I didn't get a lot of it, but now when I go and see Stuart Lee, I just relax, because I'm like, right, I know I'm not going to get a lot of this, but I'm going to love it. And I think it's the same with Hannah Gadsby. When I first go and see it, or when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, I don't get a lot of this, so I'm not quite sure what she means by this. And then I watch it again, I'm like, right, it makes more sense, or I understand more, I can enjoy it more. When I first watched this one, I call it the prelude. I'm not sure how long it was, but it felt like half an hour, but it couldn't have been that long. But she explains everything, and she tells everyone, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is how you're going to react. You're going to react in this way in certain places.
So don't take the bait.
Right. So she sets everyone up. Like she says, I'm going to make fun of Americans, and they're in America. She's like, so, and she's saying, and she tells the audience, and this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. I'm very good at this. She tells them, which is a bit like, it's a bit of an NLP trick, I guess.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't really, she kind of, so she tells them what to expect, and then as she does it, she subverts it and subverts it and subverts it. So she doesn't even do exactly what she said she was going to do. It's better. Like she says, right, so I'm going to make fun of you Americans, but then when she starts off, she goes, why are Americans so great? It's something like that, isn't it? Why are you Americans so something? But it's a positive thing. So straight away, they're like, the Brits,
YALL, the most perfect non-gender pluralized pronoun.
Yeah, love you all. Yeah, So she kills them with kindness. Although she's told them, I'm going to make fun of you. And then when she goes there, she's killing them with kindness. So she subverts even what she's set them up to say, this is what I'm going to do. So it's surprise upon surprise upon surprise. And also, I think some of the jokes were a bit not obvious. I think some of the puns were obvious, but I think she says, look, I'm going to do obvious puns. But the majority of it, very original thoughts, original observations, which I love. And I suspect New Act, New Material World, there's going to be an awful lot of new acts going, right, this is what I'm going to do in my 10 minutes, and then do it. Because we had a lot of Stuart Lee wannabes back in the day.
Right.
I loved it. And things that stuck out particularly was the Pouch of Douglas, Karen's Handful. If you watch it, you'll know what I mean.
Lime fresh keeps them fresh.
Yeah. And Fancy Fort. I'm making a fancy fort. Cried.
I've always loved the maths joke. Is that a cute angle? And for me to see the pun, a cute triangle, in a Netflix special in America, I was like...
So I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and there's a lot of information to take in, but I really loved it. It's very rich, and you feel like, oh, I've got my money's worth there, compared to a lot of acts where they might have a 1 hour special, but I'm like, it's like candy floss. This is more like, a lovely expensive 4-course meal, as opposed to the candy floss of a lot of the other Netflix specials.
And yet she never said, what's it like to, when your maitre d' brings you the wine tasting menu.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let him move it on like that. That is going to be our benchmark now.
And for the record, I'm now flicking the V's at Lucy Orchard. Thank you.
Like when you
I'm
put
not
your cat
ashamed.
crystal in the dishwasher, that it gets cloudy.
Airplane food. What's that all about?
Oh, in first class, it just has it's lost its standards.
All right. Right. Who do you want to review next time? I've got some suggestions.
Our choices could be She
Mhm.
Ready,
Nope.
They Ready.
Nope. Nope.
All right, we've got Amy Schumer Growing.
Hmm.
We've got John Robbins, Darkness of Robins.
Yeah. I love Mike Birbiglia. I'd love you to see a Mike Birbiglia.
What's Mike Birbiglia, Mike?
Mike Birbiglia, he's a real storytelling comedian. So there's one, my girlfriend's boyfriend and Sleepwalk with Me.
My Girlfriend's Boyfriend, Thank God for Jokes, or the new one.
My Girlfriend's Boyfriend.
I've never heard of this guy, and that's nice for us when we go bang outside the box.
Yeah.
So, Mike
Birbiglia. Bearing in mind, you cannot shit all over this one, right? Because he is one of my favourites. So you don't like it.
Shit over Jim Jeffries. We both did.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I love Mike Birbiglia. I think he's great.
When we do eventually do The Darkness of Robins, if you don't just give it positive reviews, I'm muting your mic.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, I didn't realise, if you have a comedian that it means something to you, please explain, and then I'll be a bit more sensitive to that.
Yeah, me, John Robbins is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's probably because I flirted with John Robbins once and he was not interested. That's probably why I'm a little bit like, yeah, whatevs. Whatevs. I've seen it. It's a great special. But yeah. So Mike Birbiglia,
that doesn't exactly suit his build, but no. He's a thin man, but he wears a t-shirt that makes him look like he's got a paunch.
Yeah, he's much thinner than he used to be. He's been through a lot.
This is the Shallow Hour with Sarah and Lizzie. What was Jim's hair doing? It's got to be plugs. Do you notice how we did not mention anything shallow about Hannah except for how good she was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible to treat one gender differently. So, right, boys and girls, we're going to wrap this up. But we are going, boys, girls, people. In fact, y'all. Hello, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Right, y'all. We are going to review for next week the two Ronnies, The Worm That Turned. I'll put the link on the kitchen sink. I'll make sure I did. I think I did last time. Kitchen sink. Link for reviews. You may even, I don't know. I'm not speaking.
What?
I want to say so much about the two Ronnies thing, but that
is right, yeah, don't
you, not for now. And I'm also
send me the link. Can I watch it today? So you can just, but we should keep it for Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah. But the other thing I'm very aware of is when I made the joke about saying how a cute triangle is one of my favourite puns, I noticed there is a huge spider over my head.
All right.
Do this.
Why you kept looking up? What's happening?
Yeah, it's the one that's got stripes on its legs.
Oh.
And it looks like the Venom spider diagram. And I'm very aware of how I've begun to sweat.
You need a new female Spider-Man. So Spider-Woman. You'll be Spider. It's going to bite you. Is there a radioactive plant nearby? That'll be the end of Lucy, because she'll be off fighting crime. Arachno bitch, yeah. It's not as catchy, though, for your theme tune. Arachno bitch, arachno bitch. Is she a spider or is she a witch? It is arachno bitch.
Oh, you've got to start working on your theme tune.
Okay. Theme tune for old and new comedy review. Done. Sorted.
Share. Copy link. Where's your face? There it is. Sarah Bridgman. There we go. Right. Sarah Bridgman. Right, there we go. Ba-da-ba-ba. Send. Right. So that's that done. Right. Spider killing with fire. I
Do
completely
not kill
agree.
spiders with fire. Have you seen spiders up close? They are so cute. They're so cute. Proper, if you look at them through a microscope, oh, they're so cute.
As I was growing up, I was able to pick up, worms and bugs and beetles and spiders, and then slowly but slowly but surely, my mother passed on through osmosis her neuroses. So I went from being fine with them to being a nervous wreck, because that is what you do as a good parent. You give your children your neuroses.
And hide their buckets.
When I watch this back, my mother will be sat over there. So I'm like, I'll look at her on this bin and go, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, oh, you blame me for everything.
Stop mentioning me in your show. You're making me sound horrible.
Yeah. Put your own clothes away in future.
Exactly.
You make your own fucking dinner.
Don't leave your coat out. Right.
Living with parents.
I know.
Right.
It's living with parents now. In these days, you can say, I was isolating with my family.
Yeah. No longer embarrassing. It's like being single. It's now a perfect life choice as opposed to being a sad loser. I better let you go so you can deal with your tiny, tiny little spider person.
Well, you stay on. Let me just go and run and get the fly swat, because I'm gonna.
No, I need the loo. We were supposed to finish like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Right. Okay, hang on. Right. So wave goodbye. Say goodbye, Australia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We appreciate it. Follow us if you haven't already. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye. See you Thursday.